Oh, she's right there. Okay, I was looking for her.
Yeah. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Okay, could you take attendance, please?
Sure. Member Marcy, absent. Member Ego,
Here.
member Maggio,
Present.
member Gilrain, member Lopez Hernandez,
Present.
member Olson,
Present.
and member Crowitz.
Present.
I have a quorum.
Do we have a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the first case that we're going to hear tonight is 9 York Road.
And then what should I get?
I don't need to read this for.
No.
I'm Attorney Vitale. I represent the petitioner on York Road. If you recall, you were kind enough to defer to get an opinion from the Assistant City Solicitor. So this is another good news, bad news. The good news is, they'll tell you that the Attorney General said what I said about height is correct. And the bad news is my people want to withdraw. To put it a little, they were in shock with respect to the reaction that they got from a couple of neighbors. So they've abandoned the project, and therefore I would like to withdraw.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
A motion to accept the withdrawal without prejudice.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Anything
You
regarding,
understand, I got to do what my clients tell me to do.
yeah, is there anything regarding the fees on these or
Well, we can make the decision whether or not the fees are returned.
afterwards?
Right
Right
now.
now, right now.
Right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we can't return the advertisement, but I think we could return the application.
Yeah, you want to add that to your motion?
So, yeah, I will.
I'll second that.
Just for the record, they, they could do an ADU without coming before the board.
They had filed for a building permit. The building commissioner, I think as you recall, said they needed a special permit. There were really two issues with respect to the, again, it's not what I think, it's
Right.
with respect to the setback on the sideline on the right side, and the other was the height. I never tell people that anything is an absolute certainty.
Right.
And, but their considerations were more, and I have great respect for people who want to go along with their neighbors.
Yeah, okay.
I do too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
So
Okay.
withdraw without prejudice and
Yes.
return the application fees.
Yes. We just need to vote on it.
Member Gilrain, to
Yes.
return? Okay. Member Maggio,
Yes, withdraw without prejudice
and return the fees.
and return the fees.
Member Lopez Hernandez,
Yes, to withdraw without prejudice and return fees.
member Olson,
Yes, to withdraw without prejudice with the stipulation to return.
member Crowitz.
Yes. Okay, the second case that we're going to hear tonight is 28 Linwood Road. This is again a continued case, so we don't need to read the description.
Good evening, members of the board. For your reminder, my name is Stephanie Kiefer from Smolik and Vaughn, and I'm here on behalf of the applicants, Grace House LLC. When we last appeared before you, we left that hearing with the understanding that, as you may recall, we had presented a proposed parking plan that included 11 total parking spaces in it, of which 4 of them, so providing for 8, would be tandem. And the feedback that we heard from the board was that it was not favorable, and we were asked to present a site plan that showed all of the proposed improvements to the property itself. As a reminder, there's no change being undertaken or proposed to the exterior of the longstanding building. It's simply how the grounds would be adjusted to accommodate parking. Likewise, as a reminder, at our last hearing, we had formally submitted that we were requesting to reduce the total occupancy from the original application had been 40 individuals to live there. We reduced that to 34 individuals. And likewise, at that time, we had submitted a sworn statement by the operator, Taylor Lenhoff, and Ms. Lenhoff explained, I think in good detail, kind of the policies and the procedures, but also kind of part and parcel of that, there was a commitment that they would reduce they would limit the occupants who are permitted to have vehicles at the property. And based on an 11 space area, they had suggested limiting it to 8 individuals. We're revising that further, and I'll get to that in a second, with the submitted plan such that only 6 individuals could come to the property that had access to vehicles. And it would be, I think it was attached as part of the good neighbor policy and the parking program policy that was attached to Ms. Lenhoff's statement. There was how that would be enforced, and that would be a violation, basically, of the tenant's obligations if they sought to have a car. The intent here, obviously, is to be very mindful of not only the people living at 28 Linwood, but the entire the residential neighborhood surrounding that. And I think that that went into great detail, that there would be no parking on Amory Street. And again, it would limit it. So the revision from Taylor's prior statement is that the limit would be only 6 residents would be permitted to have vehicles, as opposed to what had been proposed as 8. So I just want to make that clear to you before we move forward this evening. And likewise, just to reiterate, that restriction, because they're going to be certified through MASH, that was also cleared with MASH if that would be acceptable. And that was determined by MASH to be acceptable. And likewise, we had submitted with our prior application, or with our prior memo before the June hearing, we had submitted information relative to the proximity to public transportation, the bus lines. And again, we had testimony provided within that hearing as to, based on their experience, and I think based on experience of other operators, that the number of residents in a sober house that have vehicles is very limited. And so it's not pulling a population that tends to have vehicles that come with them to the property. And so that's your starting point. And then to ensure that that happens, there would be an affirmative restriction on the number of individuals that could have a vehicle. With that said, last week, the engineer had submitted, and I believe you all have in front of you, a copy of the site plan that had been revised to address kind of the parking and with the express understanding that the board did not like tandem parking. And so the submitted plan was submitted for initial review to Mr. Poole. We had asked for a preliminary meeting with him to address any questions he may have. Unfortunately, he declined that request, but I am aware that he issued a letter, and I'll get to that in a moment. Just to have some clarifications that I noticed in his letter I brought to his attention, and I don't think, unless I missed it when I left my office this evening, I'd gotten feedback. But in short, the site plan that you have before you includes a total of 7 parking spaces. They're all 9 by 18. There's 1 parking space in the front off of Linwood Street.
Do you have a copy, like a board or something?
I do not have a board. I'm very sorry about that.
I mean, as a courtesy to the audience of you revising the plan, I mean, it really, you have something you could pass around the audience so that they understand what you're talking about?
I don't have it on the board, so.
Yeah, can you pass a couple of those around so people understand what you're discussing? Or just, have them pass it around? It's very hard to follow that language without seeing what you're talking about.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that.
Anybody? Thank you, appreciate that.
As I was saying, so the proposed parking is, there's one parking space immediately off of Linwood Street. Then it goes down to the side of the building. Just to clarify for you, there had been discussion at the first zoning hearing that there was an easement, that easement area is shown. It's 4 feet off of the property line in either direction. So both property owners have a right to pass and repass within that easement area. There's no parking that's proposed within that easement area. And also, I think that there had been a question raised by Mr. Poole that he didn't see a reference to a prior plan showing that. That's simply because there wasn't a prior plan recorded that showed the location of that easement. It was made reference to the deed that created, where that easement was created. And I think I gave you the book and page of that. It's a handwritten deed. So there was no prior existing easement plan that had ever been recorded at the Registry of Deeds. So this was done with the engineer going back and
And that's the area marked on the plan, the edge of private way.
no, that's a different, so it's a dash line on either side of the property line. Do you
Yep.
see that? So the edge of private way is slightly different, but you see dashed both on 28 and the property abutting 28.
Yep.
And that's 4 feet in either direction. That's the area of the mutual access easement.
So it shows the property line and it's a 4-foot offset of the property line to one property and 4-foot offset. to the
Correct,
property.
right. So a property is simultaneously burdened with sharing an easement with the neighbor, and they're benefited with the benefit of an easement
Yep,
from their neighbor.
okay, and that shows on this,
And that is shown on the plan, correct. And likewise, the parking space in the front does not encroach upon that easement area. So it's outside of that easement area, and it's a legally compliant 9x18 parking area. The remaining 6 parking spaces then are at the rear of the property. You have 3 that are kind of 90-degree head in, and then 2 that are angled. So that accounts for 6 parking spaces. Again, there's adequate room with the drive aisle to access to and from Amory Street and for maneuverability. In addition to the parking, though, I just want to hit upon some of the requests that the board had asked for. So if you see, the plan also indicates where on the property we have existing landscaping, the existing kind of patio area that's to the front of the building. And then kind of to the front and to the right of the building, there's an existing gated bike storage area. And to the rear of the building, to the rear, and as you're facing Linwood Street on the left-hand side, that's where the snow storage area has been shown. And then the 2 dumpsters that we had talked about at the last hearing are immediately to the rear of the building, kind of on the right-hand rear of the building. And so before I go any further, I guess I would pause for a moment and ask if the board has any questions relative to that site layout. Yeah.
I know I'm going backwards here, but just because my computer died, can you remind me the number of beds and bedrooms and bathrooms?
So it is 34 beds.
Right.
Okay. The number of bedrooms is 17.
16.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks.
There's 16 bedrooms, 8 half baths, and 5 full baths.
so there was a set of architectural drawings that was submitted dated January 2026. Have those been revised since then?
No.
Okay. Can I
Yeah.
grab those? We got a set of those. You want to take a look at them?
The change in,
It's a big folder.
Yeah.
See this one?
the change in occupancy and the number of
You got it?
the new
Just go through
occupancy proposed, does it change the reality inside in terms of the layout or no?
It only changes the number of shared bedrooms or the number of beds in a shared room. So it does not, right, correct. To clarify, it's not changing the internal configuration that has been submitted previously. What it does is it reduces the overall maximum occupancy from what had been requested as 40 and what is now requested at 34. And again, this is the same building that had been licensed as an assisted or as a nursing home for 29 individuals. And at the last hearing, we provided the statement from the prior owner documenting that there would be 16 staff working there a day. And they, ironically, used 12 parking spaces, which means that unless they were not having compliant parking spaces on the lot, they would need to have parked in the street to accommodate, according to, again, the owner of the property. He said that they typically required 12. Through our proposal, we are limiting it to only having 7, and then we have 1 extra space. And if I could, while I'm talking about that 1 extra space, it had been requested at the last meeting whether or not the operator needed her own dedicated space. I don't believe that it's a separate use. It's part of the same sober house use. That is part of it, that there is an operator that will come there. But nonetheless, even if the board were to consider it, which I don't think is appropriate, but be that as it may, the operators or the office designated is 136 square feet approximately. And the parking under the zoning ordinance, if one looks at an office use, it's 1 space for 300 square feet. So this would be approximately 0.45. And the zoning ordinance goes on to state that when a parking count is less than 0.5, when it's 0.5 or more, you count it as a space. So therefore, under the zoning ordinance, if it's less than 0.5, it doesn't require a parking space. So even if the board were to consider the need for a separate use as the operator, it still would not require a parking space under the plain language of the zoning ordinance. So what we're saying is we are proposing 7 parking spaces, and we are proposing to limit the number of people that can bring a car to 6. It may never be that there's 6 people there that have it, but that would be the limit. That would be, the stop limit, that 6 people could have access to a vehicle. And I'm not certain, did you have any other questions though relative to the number? Okay, thank you.
So the snow storage area, what is what's the proposed ground underneath that? Is that paved, grass? What is that?
I believe that is currently paved where the snow storage would be, or is that currently grass?
There's some paved and some gravel.
Oh, sorry, it's a mixture of pervious and impervious.
So one of the things I think we asked last time, if you check the notes, was a landscape plan. To clarify what is landscaped and what is not.
Sure, and then
And one other thing we typically ask for is what is the existing impervious lot coverage by percentage of the lot, and what is the proposed impervious lot coverage for the lot? And oftentimes for existing lots, by zoning, there's a maximum in the zoning regulations. I believe for R2, it's 65%. And a lot of existing sites can't meet it, so we usually ask for some improvement for redeveloping a site compared to existing. And that's been since we've had new zoning regulations since July 2025. So I'd like to clarify what's.
So the areas right off of Linwood Road, to the right and left there, those are existing, and there will remain landscaped areas. And the existing outdoor area, I believe, is a paved area currently, and that remains unchanged. The rest of the parking area is it currently all paved? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not forgetting. So, so I mean, I can speak with the firsthand knowledge of this. So, they do on the plan reference the front area that has flower beds, and then that rear area that is marked snow storage. there is a stop to the pavement, and which becomes an pervious surface that will accept water. A lot of the area around the rest of the outside of the building is paved and has been paved.
Yeah, so you're redeveloping the site. So I just want to know, what is the existing percentage and what is the proposed? So you're proposing not to change the impervious at all? Not making
That's
any
correct. We're not.
Yeah, we're not altering any of
Yeah.
we're not altering any of the existing landscaping, and to my
Yeah.
knowledge, haven't been asked to up to this point, although the board is saying that you would like to see more space that allows for grass or natural growth.
Yeah,
That's something that we can definitely
It
add.
has to do with impervious area. It's an urban area. It's densely developed. When a site is totally paved, when it rains out heavy, we get flooding in the city. And so incrementally, the zoning regulations are looking to improve that situation over time, utilizing this aspect of the zoning regulation
Sure.
to make some good faith effort to improve the existing condition when you're redeveloping the site. Now, if it's only 65% impervious, from what I see on the plan, I'm sure it exceeds what's required by zoning if this was a new site being developed, but we'd like to see some improvement. I don't know whether it's 90% impervious. That number needs to be on the plan,
Okay.
on the landscaping plan.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so it's in the table of our zoning regulations.
Right. I understood exactly. But again, we're not increasing the amount, so it is a pre-existing non-conforming. So, but I appreciate your point that
Yeah.
while you may have to consider something as pre-existing non-conforming, if there can be any improvement to inch it closer to what the desired goal is, I think that.
Well, so yeah, that was what I was going to get to. I mean, we'd be happy to work with you guys on
Yeah,
that.
that's part of what a landscaping plan would show. So we actually know what is landscaped, what's being done, and now those calculations, pre-existing and proposed, are on the plan. So it's what percentage of the lot is impervious?
I appreciate that.
And the regulation says 65.
Yeah, but I would just say, again, we're talking about a pre-existing non-conforming lot and building, so.
And we understand.
Okay, so, yeah, so we're not being held,
Yeah.
the standard is not the 65%, but.
Correct.
But your point is well taken that the board likes to see,
Some
know,
good
there
faith
can be-
effort to improve that. And then we've had people come in with pervious pavers. There's different ways to accomplish the goal. But the idea is we want to try to reduce incrementally that runoff and the impact it has on the community as a whole.
right, and I think that, to your point, what could be potentially enhanced in terms of impervious areas is, as you're looking at the building to the left-hand side there, so between that and the adjacent property. That would be the church.
The other thing is the fencing around the area in screen. Like I know the fencing along Amory Street itself is like a 4-foot chain link. It's a little beat up. This is supposed to be a home. So, this should be reflective of that, and the appearance from the street should look like a home from both sides. So some improvements to that fence. I don't know who owns the fence that the parking is facing against. I know there's a lot of overgrowth, vines and whatnot in there, but screening, there's a house next door. And when you go to park and you got a line of cars and their headlights are shining in.
Sure, it's good that you brought that up. I
Yeah.
actually spoke with that property owner
Yeah.
about improving that fence with privacy slats through it.
Yeah.
So to obscure the vision,
Yeah.
the line of sight between the two properties, and that was something that he did say that he would like us to do, and that is something that we will be doing.
Yeah, so that would be part of the landscaping plan to memorialize those options and discussions
Okay.
on impacts on
Okay.
the community. So landscape, was there any other things, Mary, we had asked for the last time?
Certified parking plan, layout of the parking measurement, a certified site plan stating where the bike storage, trash, and snow removal are located.
Okay, and then
Yes.
yeah, and I see the snow storage.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll have some stipulations regarding trash removal too. So,
I have another question related to the parking space labeled number 1 on the front of the property. So the parking space here, it seems that the border or the area where the 9 foot is being demarcated, the 9 feet goes into when the property makes an L or the corner facing Linwood Road towards the driveway. It seems here portrayed that it's going to go into that space or that little nook. Looking here at the imagery, there is like a bump.
Yes.
Is that bump intended to be shaved off or taken off so that the car can actually park?
Yeah, so that bump is already like a paved section, so that bump would remain paved in that spot.
Okay, but there's a difference in elevation.
Yes.
And it seems that part of the parking space will then reduce part of the green space. Looking at imagery from Google, it seems that in order to fit the car there, elevation has to be reduced so it's flush with the area. And then part of the green space in the landscaping would have to be reduced in order to fit that 9 by 18.
Yeah, so I mean, we do currently park a vehicle there.
Right there.
That is outside of those spaces referenced. I do see what you are speaking about on the plan.
Yeah.
But we do currently park a vehicle in that location, and it does not obstruct the right of way through that.
Can you talk into the mic, please?
Yes. Would you like me to repeat what I said?
Yes.
So I observe what you're referencing on the plan. We do currently park a vehicle there that is neither on that raised portion of pavement or in the middle of the, or obstructing the easement in any way.
So it's just on the actual driveway.
Yes.
Okay.
Was landscaping already removed?
No, we have not removed any. We have landscaped, and we have landscaped both property lines as well in areas that cross over kind of between both ours and neighbors' property to maintain that homey look that you're referencing. But no landscaping has been removed or added at this time.
all right, so we'd like to see a landscaping plan that describes what is actually landscaped, what's happening with the fences and so forth, what's grassed and paved around the snow storage area, percent impervious, existing and proposed, shown on that plan.
We would ask then that the board consider that just be a condition of approval, then that we submit that for administrative approval then. Because again, we're not reducing the amount of impervious surface. And, but I appreciate your point that you just want to see and to have it for the record, so we can do that, but.
No, we want to see the plan to be able to comment on it. That's typically what we do.
I think I appreciate your position, but I would also state that I don't think that that's a zoning requirement that.
It is a zone.
It is if we ask for it.
Is a zoning requirement. Percent impervious is a zoning requirement.
Correct, but we're not altering the impervious area. We're maintaining it, or we're saying that we will improve it. So I believe that it's informational and it's good, and we can
We
commit
want to see
again.
where it is.
It's something we do commonly ask people, so it's
Yeah.
not just a one-off here.
Yeah.
Like we do ask to see this typically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Part of the process. So, is Mr. Poole here?
Yes.
You submitted a letter, and I think the attorney here had commented on it. I don't know if you want to kind of just give us an overview of what your findings and the content of that letter was, just so we understand.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Mr. Poole, went to the city. That's it. That's not the registry of deeds. The letter said you couldn't find your copy.
This is the,
Registry of deeds, yeah, that's the plan. From 1859. The
Okay.
difference in your plans being about So, anyway, just one comment really, you have my letter. The way we calculate the parking requirement, the first square foot of office space required in the parking space. The fractional thing, you'll see like, for example, a 3-family requires 1.5 spaces per unit. 4.5, 65. That's all.
Thank you for that.
And again, just to clarify what it does say, though, in the zoning ordinance, under section 6A5, subpart C, where the computation of required parking spaces results in a fractional number, only the fraction of 1/2 or more shall be counted as one. There is no caveat that that's only after 1 plus. It says, where the computation of required parking spaces results in a fractional number, only the fraction of 1/2 or more shall be counted as one. So I'm just, again, just referencing what the language of the bylaw is.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, is there anybody else here that wants to?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not
Oh, I
finished yet
thought
with my
you were
presentation.
finished.
No, thank you very much, though. I would like to continue on with what I presented to the board in my supplemental correspondence last week. Again, we've talked through that the updated parking plan has been submitted, and that while the proposed plan at the last hearing had shown 11 parking spaces, this one is with 7 with 0 tandem parking spaces. Again, reiterating that the Grace House has voluntarily agreed to limit its occupancy to 34 individuals and to restrict the number of tenants that are permitted to bring vehicles as part of their residence agreement. That would be to 6. Again, referencing again back to the record of Ms. Lenhoff, as well as confirmation with MASH on that. And then I would like to move on to the request for a reasonable accommodation, and that we're requesting a reasonable accommodation. People that are sober are, as we've talked about, covered and protected by the Federal Fair Housing Act, and they're not to be treated differently than standards that are imposed on other individuals. And I would say that would be imposed on other individuals, even if a similar situation. So if you look in my correspondence, the property at 585 Boston Street, that's a sober house. And according to the MASH website, it has 33 beds in it. That property, until 2023, had been owned by the adjacent church, the Sacred Heart Church, and the Archdiocese, and they sold that to Chelsea's House for $1.3 million in 2023. It had been, since at least the 1930s, a convent with 14 bedrooms. It today houses 33 individuals, a sober house for 33 individuals. And we've confirmed that the public records officer for the city, Mr. Lamanna, has confirmed that there was no special permit granted by the zoning board. There was no permit issued by city council. The building was allowed to be occupied as of right.
What town is this in?
Lynn, 585 Boston Street, Lynn. It's in the R2 zoning district. This is nearly an identical situation to what we're presented here. 28 Linwood is in the R2. 585 Boston Street is in an R2.
But the question too would be, what do the people at 585 Boston Street, what are all the neighbors coming and say?
Does that matter?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it does.
If we're talking about a reasonable accommodation and treating people differently,
We can talk about a reasonable accommodation.
Well,
any day,
well-
but you have to be reasonable for the neighborhood as well.
Yeah, we're also,
this I will say, I was not involved in that, but the news articles that I read, the neighbors were opposed.
So I actually sold that building, so I can kind of speak on that. So before anything was passed through for inspectional services, before they went to permits, anything like that, before they even got their offer accepted on the building, they included the entire church. They included the school in the back for Sacred Heart. They included the neighborhood. They had meetings. So we had input from anyone who wanted to have input had the opportunity to come forth and bring input. The building itself, they did not move any walls. They used the building exactly how it was in how it is.
yeah, and
So again,
The zoning today is also, we have new zoning regulations a year old. So it's a whole different set of regulations than it was when that.
but it's actually not for this. It still would have required a special permit to change the use from a convent to a sober house. And it was done as of right, according to the Lynn Public Records Officer. Before this hearing this evening, I went to the Inspectional Services Office just to see if there was a zoning determination that was in the file. I was told by the clerk, she looked it up, there was no zoning determination letter. So a similarly situated property in an R2, a former convent with 14 bedrooms, as of right, became a sober house for 33 individuals.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that because we don't have anything in front of us.
Nope.
What that application is, so it's irrelevant to this
Well,
case.
that's
What
the
I'm
irony,
looking
there
at
was
is
no
what-
application.
What is submitted in front of us, what's submitted is what we're considering.
Correct.
We don't know all the facts in that case.
And you
So-
don't know all the
so
facts
it's-
in that case.
Well, what I
They're
know,
relevant.
Admitted you don't know all the facts in that case.
but what I know is that I've been told
I don't care.
I would-
It doesn't matter.
I would
it
stick-
very much does matter.
I would stick to, there's another thing I would stick to, just generalities. I don't, but I would stick to what are you presenting for this application?
This application, again, requests reasonable accommodation. And under Federal Fair Housing Act, there is a requirement that they not be treated differently. And so the relevance,
Differently than what? Differently than what? I wouldn't want 33 people to move into any house next door to me, whether they were sober or.
Yeah, so can we,
So
But they were-
let's get to the brass tacks.
the
okay?
brass tacks is that the city of Lawrence issued an occupancy permit was issued for 33 individuals in recovery in an R2 zoning district for a place that had formerly been a type of communal living, a convent for 14 individuals.
So it went from communal living to communal living,
Correct.
which is not what we.
As is the nursing home going from community living to a sober house.
I'm sorry, it is not the same, not the same. Those people were bedridden, they weren't leaving the house every single day, they weren't going in and out, they were bedridden. It's not the
You're
same.
right, and you're right, and there were, well, they were less able, I don't know that they were bedridden, but they also had a full-time staff of 16 people that were there 24 hours a day, which is not the case was proposed at 28
Which is
Lynn.
not 33.
And likewise, there were 29 people licensed.
Okay.
So, and, there were 14 bedrooms at 585 Boston Street. So
Have you looked at the size of that building?
I have.
Have you toured it?
I've not toured the building. I've looked at it, and interestingly, I was actually there on Sunday outside the properties, and I think that this is relevant for some of the concerns that were raised. So it's immediately adjacent to Sacred Heart, and it was after church services on Sunday, and the front yard of the church, the kind of the front side yard of the church, was full of children outside playing. Didn't appear to be any danger that the property right next door was a sober home. Full of kids having fun, their parents or adults looking on. Didn't impact the
All
residential
the
use.
families were together, it wasn't just children walking to and from school. You're saying the church and all the families that went to church that day were all together in front.
I'm saying that there were children there and that there were adults there and that people were living and thriving in a residential community
Make
despite
comparisons
that.
that are not equal, and it doesn't matter to this board, okay? We want to hear strictly about this case and this case only. If we have questions, we will ask them. Do you have anything else to present?
Yes, thank you. Again, I'll just cite the provisions of the Fair Housing Act makes it unlawful to make unavailable or deny housing based on a protected characteristic such as race, disability, or the presence of children. Likewise, it's unlawful to coerce, intimidate, threaten, or interfere with the exercise of fair housing right or attempt to assist another person in exercising or enjoying such rights. And then I cite the Attorney General guidance that had issued earlier last year. I state, for a succinct overview of the fair housing rights for persons with a disability, including persons in recovery for substance addiction, attached, please find the Attorney General's guidance on regulation of religious and educational uses under the Dover Amendment, prepared earlier last year. A copy of the same is attached at tab 2 of my letter. While the AG guidance primarily addresses educational and religious use protections under paragraph 3 of the Dover Amendment, it is likewise relevant to considerations under Chapter 48, Section 3, Paragraph 4, and the protections for persons with disabilities. Please refer to pages 16 to 20 of the guidance, which is instructive as both the limitations of a board, A, in seeking to impose standards on the change of one pre-existing nonconforming use to another, and B, the federal fair housing requirements applicable for protections of housing of disabled. As stated in the AG guidance, the fair housing laws prohibit intentional discriminatory treatment and facially neutral policies that have unjustified discriminatory effects. Intentional discrimination occurs when a municipality or municipal officers treat a project differently because of a protected characteristic of either the permit applicant or the residents of the housing. Intentional discrimination can occur when municipal officials.
Are being discriminating? I'm reading while you're reading all of this. You sent it to us, we read it, and now you're reading it to us. Many paragraphs, by the way, about how discrimination is against the law. Like we don't know this. Please present something different. Please present something that's applicable to this project besides discrimination. Nobody here is trying to discriminate against you. We are trying to make the best decision for this neighborhood that we can possibly make. Nobody's discriminating against you.
I'm quoting from an attached guidance. And with all due respect, at the last public hearing, there was a multi-page letter read by an abutter and no one made a comment that was problematic to read a letter into the record. And so I'm simply reading a letter into the record. It continues on. Intentional discrimination can occur when municipal officials act on community bias, even if officials themselves do not feel animus or hold prejudicial views, And that's from page 18 of the Attorney General's guidance.
Is there a point you're trying to make with this?
Yes.
Because I'm just reading the regulations, they've been submitted for the record. I don't want to be subjected to reading the entire regulation. If there's a certain issue or point you want to make relative to that, bring it up.
Yes.
If not, I don't want to be listening to you regurgitate the reading of the regulations.
I think
Be
the
respectful for the board and the people of the audience in that regard, in our time.
Yes, and I am trying to be respectful. The point being that the Fair Housing Act, and I'm not saying it requires intentional discrimination. If that whole clause, what it says is application of facially neutral regulations can be discriminatory. And that's part of the whole point of the Fair Housing Act, that it doesn't have to just be animus and bias against a group of people, but it can be the application of regulations that look facially neutral. The end result is that it's harming and it's discriminatory as to.
Say the other way around, that you could be accusing this board of discrimination because we're not listening to you. We're not. We are listening to you. We're just getting aggravated, which is not a good thing, because you're regurgitating stuff we've already read, and you're regurgitating it in a way that's insulting.
Yeah.
Okay? To all in this room.
I'm also drawing a parallel that this board may not be aware of, that a similarly situated property went from one non-conforming communal type use, 14 bedrooms to 33 individuals, and a nursing home that's being proposed, licensed for 29 for 34 individuals.
And according to the person who sold the building, you have not handled it in the same way at all.
The operations over there are completely different. They have multiple overnight people that stay there, that live in there. They have maintenance facilities that come and sweep the property daily. They have people that work regular 9 to 5s and come in to the facility. There's a whole operation there. There's cameras. We had a whole bunch of input from the community on fencing, on smoke areas, on what they would like to see, and we incorporated all of those things into what eventually came into play.
But then again, to that point, that's a good point. To that point, There was no requirement for any sort of minimum parking requirement for this. The certificate of occupancy was just issued, and there was no taking a deep, hard look at the parking. And so if we have 33 individuals, divide that by 4, you're at least at 8 plus. And now you're saying that there's staffing that comes in. And there was no parking that was approved or for that property. So again,
Properties. 2 different kinds, 2 different properties,
2 different
2
neighborhoods.
different neighborhoods,
both in the same zoning district.
different neighborhoods, sets of neighborhood people.
When was this?
This, I believe in this August, it will be their 2nd year anniversary.
So this was before the new change.
So
Correct, but it's still required.
It was
Still required. It still required a special permit if it were applicable.
I'm looking at the plans and looking at the imagery, coming back to the parking space labeled number 1, there is an explicit mention in the plan that landscaping area will be removed in order for that number 1 parking to be a valid parking, even though it's currently being used in a different manner, as it was explained a short while ago. Meaning that is actually reducing the pervious amount, which is necessary why we need to know the impervious ratio, because that nonconformity is being increased because the landscaping is being reduced. Not only is it being reduced, it's being reduced in front of the street, so it has a wider and larger impact in terms of stormwater running into the drains of the city than in other parts of the property. So I'm concerned about that. And unless that's remediated, I don't feel comfortable in granting that because it's increasing that aspect of the nonconformity, the impervious ratio.
And would that be a neutral policy that's applied across all non-conforming properties?
Since the new zoning code has been adopted, every time we have a zoning determination and we have to review a case, we always ask because it is part of the regulation.
Okay. Well, I would just, again, I hate to say this, but point out that 585 Boston Street, when it was listed for sale, had a nice green front lawn, huge green front lawn, building set far back. Today, it's paved, totally paved. It's close to 100%.
That was before the new regulation. This is a new
The
regulation.
65% existed before the zoning change.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it was probably pre-existing conforming before the,
Yeah. But you're in front of the board.
for the landscaping.
You're not in front of the board for that project, you're in front of the board for this project.
No, but what I'm suggesting is that,
go put a complaint in with them and have them take a look at that property.
the goal is not to,
I know,
the
but
goal
then
is not to,
It doesn't
the
change
goal
the
is
fact
just
that
to make certain that we're applying things
It
even-handedly.
was, to my recollection, a few minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, it was mentioned from the proponent's end that the property is not increasing the nonconformity on the impermeability of the property. And therefore, there was a discussion about having the numbers, having the consideration on improving it. Looking at this plan, it doesn't stay the same, it is increased. And that is undesirable.
To your point, and I believe as Boris indicated, we're happy to update with the landscaping plan.
I want to see the updated landscaping plan and how the parking space that is being proposed, which in order for it to work, it seems has to have that trade-off, how that is going to be balanced so there isn't an increase in the non-conforming. I'm interested if that's a possibility.
Right, unless it's possible to make it a pervious pavers for that parking space.
We'll have to have the surveyor look at that.
Okay.
It's a very specific answer on that.
That's all.
Okay. With that, I'm going to conclude my comments. I again refer to all of my prior submittals, as well as the submittals of the engineer and Taylor Lenhoff. We're happy to answer any questions that the board may have, but again, reiterating that we are seeking the board to make a reasonable accommodation to allow a prior 29 individual nursing home to allow it to be used as a home for sober people, 34 individuals. And we are proposing to upgrade the amount of parking that's historically been on the property to provide for 7 spaces. And we are proposing that to alleviate any concerns about parking we would limit the number of individuals that may have a vehicle to 6 individuals. And so if the board has any questions, I'm happy to answer that at this time.
Okay,
Thank you.
I have no questions. If anyone has any questions? Is there anybody else here that would like to speak in favor of this project?
And should we read things in for the record?
Yeah, we do have some letters that have come up to our attention since the last meeting.
You could talk in favor first, and then go council in favor, and then close the public hearing for the favor.
It is, I already did. Nobody else came up. I already said in favor. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Nobody else is in favor.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Are all 3 of these getting read in?
Yep. Not in favor.
So we have an email, dear Board of Appeals, I'm writing as a major abutter to the property. My address is 9 Amory Street, Lynn, Mass. 01905. Demetria Euphoria. Tonight's case number 10140, 28 Linwood Road, Phillips Manor and Home converting into a sober home for 40 men, has added an additional paragraph to the original petition, changing the whole narrative and dialogue to this issue at hand. Looking for additional relief due to substantial financial hardship. Any and all changes will cause the neighborhood and community hardship of huge, substantial detriment to our neighborhood. Please, if voting tonight, which I can't imagine, given these additional deficits to the property that have been snuck into the case, and not anyone discussing the remedy to correct and not waive the enforcement of the provisions. I ask on my behalf and all our neighborhoods to categorically vote this down to a dead issue. It will forever alter our lives. We are the people living here. We are the voices, the humans behind the issue. Respectfully remain totally opposed and request a vote no, totally no on this case. Respectfully, Demetria De Furia. I have another letter here. Formal opposition to request for reasonable accommodation under the Federal Fair Housing Act and Dover Amendment to City of Lynn Zoning Board of Appeals Chair and Board members from concerned neighborhood residents of Lynn, Wood Road, and surrounding communities, July 21st, 2026. Application for 28 Linwood Road, Grace House LLC, request for reasonable accommodation under the Federal Fair Housing Act together with recognition of protection under the Dover Amendment. Reason number 1, misuse of fair housing and Dover Amendment protections to avoid standard oversight. The applicant invokes the Federal Fair Housing Act and the Dover Amendment not as a collaborative means to seek reasonable flexibility, but as leverage to shield an aggressive over-densification proposal from standard municipal zoning controls. Weaponizing protections against municipal planning, the FHA and Dover Amendment were designed to prevent discrimination and foster reasonable integration, not to strip local boards of their duty to enforce basic health, bulk, and public safety standards, using statutory protections to force 34 beds into a 0.2 acre residential parcel bypasses legitimate community planning. Unsubstantiated allegations of discrimination. The applicant improperly characterizes routine zoning scrutiny by the board and the neighboring residents as discriminatory. Reason number 2, historical baseline and actual operational footprint at closing. The structure at 28 Linwood Road was originally constructed in 1924 as a nursing home facility. To properly evaluate the proposed 34-bed footprint, the board must evaluate the actual historical operational figures and closing records of former owner Richard Aguirre. Actual operational occupancy at closing at the time of closure. Former owner Richard Aguirre confirmed that the Phillips Manor was operating with only 11 bedrooms and 11 residents. License capacity versus actual use. While the building held a maximum license limit of 29 beds, it actually functioned as a low-density, quiet 11 residential facility expanding the building from 11 actual residents across 11 bedrooms to 34 adults, represents a 209% increase in actual resident density, requiring extreme double and triple bunking. A shift in operational daily impact. Sedimentary nursing care provided to 11 residents across 11 rooms generated minimal independent traffic or noise. Replacing that low density footprint with 34 active mobile adults fundamentally alters daily traffic demand and building use on a narrow residential street. Reason number 3, severe gaps in operational safety, parking allocation, relapse protocols, and screenings. The applicant repeatedly points to an internal good neighbor policy as a safeguard for the community. However, the private policy is legally unenforceable by the City of Lynn and contains dangerous operational omissions, inaccurate parking, and unclear allocations. The applicant proposes 7 on-site parking spaces within the property boundaries. Do these 7 spaces include the operator's parking space? Unenforceability of car-free policies. To bridge the severe parking deficit, the applicant relies on an internal policy restricting residential vehicles. However, internal house rules are legally unenforceable by municipal authorities and cannot prevent the inevitable physical overflow of staff, visitor, and unapproved resident vehicles onto Linwood Road. Unclear and hazardous discharge relapse protocol. Grace House asserts that if a resident relapses, they are immediately removed from the facility. However, the applicant fails to specify where discharged individuals are relocated or transported. Discharging individuals directly onto surrounding residential streets without a secured professional transfer protocol creates severe safety concerns for both the individual in crisis and the neighboring residents. Absence of mandatory background screening. The applicant has provided no specific criteria or mandatory procedures for comprehensive background searches prior to admission. Without defined screening standards, the facility cannot guarantee public safety on a residential street located near a school zone. Reason number 4, unreasonable neighborhood burden and substantial detriment. Under governing Massachusetts land use law, changing or extending pre-existing non-conforming structure use shall not be permitted if it is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming use. Title on hand turnaround and school zone risks. Squeezing 7 parking spots onto a constrained 0.2 acre lot leaves minimal room for service delivery trash or emergency vehicles to maneuver inside the property without backing onto the Linwood Road, creating direct safety hazards near a local school. Over-densification, crowding 34 adults into a 1925 structure on a 0.2 acre parcel transforms a single-family residential block into an institutionary dormitory footprint, directly altering the essential character of the area. Reason number 5, supporting recovery versus protecting public interest and neighborhood safety. The neighborhood residents firmly support individuals seeking recovery and commend their dedication to sustainable rehabilitation. However, housing 34 adult males into a constrained residential structure fails both the residents in recovery and the surrounding community. Incompatible living environment for recovery. Placing 34 adult males in a 1924 building on a 0.2 acre parcel requiring extreme double and triple bunking creates an overcrowded, high-stress environment that is counterproductive to genuine therapeutic recovery and personal well-being. Inapplicable history precedent. Approving a 34-bed high-density facility on the basis of a former low-density 11-resident nursing home misapplies historical land use precedents to justify an unprecedented physical expansion. protection of long-term tax-paying residents and public interest. Granting this relief would signal that the board is prioritizing the commercial interest of a business over the long-term safety, well-being, and property interests of an established neighborhood of tax-paying residents. Municipal zoning controls exit precisely to protect residential communities from such severe over-densification. Reason number 6, community resolve and intend to pursue legal remedies. The neighboring residents of Linwood Road and the surrounding area stand united, determined, and fully prepared to support the City of Lynn and the Lynn Zone Board of Appeals in issuing a defensible decision that upholds local zoning ordinances. Active support for municipal oversight. The community strongly urges the board to deny this application, standing firmly behind City Hall and enforcing reasonable land use standards, public safety controls, and the neighborhood density protections. Preparedness for judicial appeal. Should the board grant a favorable decision to the applicant despite the severe operational safety and dimensional defects in the record, the affected residents are fully prepared to exercise their legal rights under the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 17, by pursuing a formal appeal in Superior Court to protect the integrity of our neighborhood. Conclusion and requested action. The evidence presented by the applicant fails to establish that a 34 high-density facility constitutes a necessary or reasonable accommodation under a federal or state law. The severe operational omissions, absence of screening standards, and unaddressed parking deficits, and extreme over-densification proposed for 38 Linwood Road would cause substantial permanent detriment to the public safety and residential character of our communities. We respectfully urge the Zoning Board of Appeals to uphold municipal zoning standards and deny the requested reasonable accommodations and special permits for 28 Linwood Road. Respectfully submitted, concerned residents of Linwood Road and surrounding neighbors. And I have one more email. From Kayla O'Rourke, July 21st, 2026. Subject 28 Linwood Road, please read during the meeting. Lynn Zoning Board of Appeals, case number 10140, 28 Linwood Road. I respectfully submit the following comments in response to the memorandum dated July 19, 2026, submitted by counsel for Grace House LLC regarding the proposed conversion of 28 Linwood Road into a 34-bed recovery residence. ZBA Memo 7, 2026 site plan updated. There was a PDF that was attached. At the outset, I wish to make one point absolutely clear. Nothing in these comments should be interpreted as opposition to individuals in recovery from substance use disorder. Recovery housing serves as an important purpose, and those seeking recovery deserve dignity and respect. The question before the board, however, is not whether recovery housing is valuable. The question is whether this specific proposal at this specific location satisfies the legal standards required for approval. Those are two very different questions. The applicant continues to bear the burden of proof. Throughout its memorandum, the applicant suggests that additional scrutiny at this proposal risks violating the Fair Housing Act or the Dover Amendment. Respectfully, that is not the issue before the board. The board has an independent obligation to determine whether the applicant has satisfied the standards established under Massachusetts law. The applicant bears the burden of demonstrating that the requested relief is appropriate. The existence of federal and state protections against discrimination does not relieve an applicant of proving that the requested use satisfies the applicable legal requirements. Reducing occupancy does not automatically resolve the issue. The memorandum emphasizes that the applicant voluntarily reduces occupancy from 40 residents to 34 residents and agreed to limit resident vehicles to 6 while providing 7 parking spaces. While those revisions may deserve consideration, they do not automatically establish that the proposal is compatible with the neighborhood. Many important operational questions remain unanswered, including staffing levels during each shift, employee parking demand, visitor parking, enforcement of parking restrictions, resident turnover, transportation plans, management procedures, and neighborhood communication protocols. Without evidence addressing these issues, the board cannot reasonably conclude that the proposal satisfies the required statutory findings. Comparisons to the former nursing home do not resolve the board's inquiry. The memorandum repeatedly argues that because Phillips Manor operated as a nursing home for many years, a recovery resident should necessarily be viewed as comparable. However, similarity cannot simply be assumed. The former nursing home operated under a different regulatory structure, served a different population, maintained different staffing patterns, and functioned under different operational requirements. The applicant has not demonstrated that the day-to-day impacts of the proposed operation are substantially equivalent. The board's responsibility is to evaluate the actual evidence presented regarding the proposed use, not merely rely upon the existence of the previous institutional use. The comparison to 585 Boston Street is not determined. The memorandum also argues that another recovery residence at 585 Boston Street allegedly proceeded without zoning review and suggests that different treatment here may constitute discrimination. Respectfully, each zoning matter should be decided on its own facts. The legal statute, zoning history, physical characteristics, ownership history, and permitting process of each property do not automatically determine the outcome for this application. If another property was lawfully permitted under different circumstances, this does not review the applicant of satisfying the standard application applicable to 28 Linwood Road. Likewise, if there were errors in prior permitting decisions, those errors should not become precedent. Community participation should not be characterized as discrimination. The memorandum suggests that the neighborhood concerns constitute discriminatory opposition. Respectfully, residents have every right to participate in the zoning process by asking legitimate questions concerning parking, traffic, emergency access, neighborhood compatibility, density, operational impacts, and compliance with applicable zoning standards. These are standard land use issues that zoning boards consider every day. Requesting a careful review of these matters should not be interpreted as hostility toward individuals with disability. Community participation is an essential component of transparent local government and should not be discouraged. The board should decide this matter on the evidence. Ultimately, this application should be approved or denied based solely upon whether the evidence satisfies the legal standards governing the requested relief. The board should not approve an application because litigation is threatened, nor deny an application because of public pressure. Rather, it should carefully evaluate whether the applicant has provided sufficient evidence to support every required finding under Massachusetts law. That carefully review protects both the rights of the applicant and the integrity of the zoning process.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I don't know if we have any other written communications, but in anticipation of anybody else who would like to speak here, I would like to ask for a 5-minute recess so anybody who can stretch, and anybody who has to go to the bathroom can go.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Can I call the meeting back to order? Here.
Do you want me to read who's on first?
Okay, so we have a few names that have signed up to speak. I would like to please limit each person to 3 minutes so we can get out of here sometime tonight. We still have 2 more cases to hear tonight after you're finished, so if we could do this in order. Mr. Hogan, did you want to speak first?
Chairwoman and the members of the board, thank you for having us. 34 beds in this neighborhood is it's unacceptable. It's as simple as that. You guys have heard a lot from our residents in that neighborhood. This is a strong community in that neighborhood. They've also submitted a list of stipulations if this doesn't rule in the favor that the neighbors would like. But me being the Ward 6 Lynn City Councilor for the neighborhood and the council vice president, I would respectfully ask the board to deny this. And thank you.
I have a question. Is there a number in your mind that would work?
I would say 15 to 20. I know the residents wouldn't even want that, but if there's a number you're asking me, that's what I would give you.
All right, thank you. Okay. Is it Walter Raphael? Yeah. Well, did I say that right? Hey, come on up, please. Where do you live, sir?
55.
55? Did you get it?
Yep.
Okay.
The microphone.
Thank you for giving me this chance. Excuse me. Okay, hello, my name is Abel. My family and writing this letter to express our concerns regarding the proposed sober living facility on 28 Linwood Road here in Lynn. My wife and I purchased our home approximately 1 year ago, and it's located 55 Linwood Road, about 300 feet away from the proposed site. This was our first home purchase after years and hard work and saving. We chose this neighborhood because it's offered the stable residential environment we wanted to build our future in. We are now raising our 6-month-old child here and had planned to remain in this community for many years. My family and I want to make clear that we support recovery programs and believe that individuals struggling with substance use deserve access to treatment, housing, and support services. Our concerns are not about the mission of helping people in recovery, rather relate to whether this particular location is appropriate for facility of the proposed size and scope. Specifically, we are concerned about the concentration of a large number of residents in a neighborhood that's primarily residential in character. Limited parking availability and transportation infrastructure in the immediate area. Increased traffic and activity on local streets that we not designed to accommodate a facility of this scale. The proximity of this facility is nearby a local school, homes, and families, including many young children who live in and travel through the neighborhood and school daily. The potential impact on the quality of life and sense of security that current residents have worked hard to establish and maintain. My family also relies on rental income from 2 units on our property to help cover our mortgage expenses. 1 unit is occupied by working professionals, while another is occupied by family with children. We are concerned that the proposed project could make it more difficult to attract and retain tenants, creating a significant financial burden for our household. The residents of Linwood Road and the surrounding neighborhood have invested their savings, time, and effort into building a safe and stable community. We respectfully ask that city officials carefully consider the concerns of nearby residents and evaluate whether there are alternative locations that would be better suited for this project, particularly locations with greater transportation accesses, parking capacity, and separation from the dense residential areas. For these reasons, we respectfully request that the proposal not be approved at this current location. Thank you for your time and consideration of the concerns raised by residents who will be directly affected by this decision.
Thank you very
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gimes, Espen Gimes. Oh, sorry, I can't. Maybe if I put my glasses on, it would have helped. Yes, Gomez, yes. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So my name is Esvin Gomez, and I've been living in Lynn for 31 years. Back in
Your address, please,
2019,
for the record,
yeah,
yeah.
31 years.
Talk right into the mic.
Back in 2019, I finally was able to buy a house. And I bought the house at 67 Grove Street, which is only, I will say, about 7 houses from where they pretend to open this solar facility. On the other side, yes, right on Grove Street. So basically, my biggest concern is because my kid, who's 11 years old now, he finally is going to be able to walk to school this year because he's going to be moved from the elementary school to a new school, right? So he's going to be able to walk by himself. When I hear that this is what's going to happen, I really worry about it because I'm a full-time worker. I leave the house at 6 a.m. and I come home at 7 o'clock. My wife also, she works during the day. So during that time, my kid, who's 11, he's able to walk now to school. I'm a little concerned about this. And not only that, I moved to that neighborhood specifically because it was a nice neighborhood. And not only that, I spent all my saving fixing that house so I can live in a better area. And as of right now, I asking you to deny this. And this is just not for me. It's for everybody who's in the neighborhood. I've been living in that house for 6 years, and I never had any issue with anybody around it. It's so quiet and peaceful. That's all I can say. Thank you
so much. Putting my glasses on this time.
Who's he the?
Dante Fiera. Di Fiera.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, obviously, you know who I am. My name is Dante DeFuria. I've been up here every time we've had one of these meetings. I do have
We're going to get you 3 minutes now.
3 minutes. Okay, so I guess my bottom line is I'm asking the board to consider voting this whole proposal down. I am completely opposed to it now. And at some point, I do have questions about this parking plan that they have. It would have been nice if they brought a bigger one or something that people could really look at. This is kind of lousy to look at. I do have concerns with the 6 parking spots to show against my property. I did speak with the owner about putting up, he'd asked me about putting up a privacy screening. After talking to my wife, we felt that maybe the screening isn't good enough. Maybe it should be one of those plastic 6-foot-high fences that go up there. But I am asking the board to deny this whole proposal.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for taking the time to hear us speak tonight. I exist in the commercial architecture world. I've spent many nights, many weekends preparing renderings, drawings, and reviewing codes with code consultants to avoid exactly this situation. Feasibility studies are very often done before buildings are bought. Community engagement is done before buildings are bought for things like this, right? So I would urge the board to just put the pressure on the operators to provide some standards that are in line with the typical zoning board meeting and architectural review. The community has asked for specifically as early as May for plans to be shared, renderings done, business plans, and nothing has ever been provided or shared. We've been met with the same level of respect that I think you all were tonight. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
Can I get her address?
Yeah. Can you get your address to?
65 Moulton Street.
Moulton?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we have, we had asked tonight for landscape plans showing, freshening up landscape and showing the fencing, showing the pervious versus impervious land, and also showing how that one parking spot is going to be, change that number. But I'm thinking, the board we need to make a motion. So what is the wish of the board? In my personal opinion, I think pushing 33 people into one house in a neighborhood that doesn't even have 33 houses in it is a lot. Whether they're recovering alcoholics or it's just a dormitory, whatever it is. It's too many people in one house, is my opinion. And that is why I asked Mr. Hogan what his thoughts were, what he thought would be more appropriate for a neighborhood. And his thoughts actually pretty much aligned with mine. I was thinking 15 or less. You're thinking 15 to 20. I don't know what the wish of the board is, but we could certainly make a motion here to limit the construction of this or the, to allow it, but still limit it.
So going down this road, so the Dover Amendment allows, lists out 8 specific considerations that we consider. Open space, i.e. the impervious calculation, is one of them, as is parking. I am inclined, looking at Mr. Poole's report, to lean more toward a 24 number, given the 6 spaces plus 1 for the office use. That's where my head went in terms of that. I'd also still want to see what we asked for in terms of landscaping as other stipulations.
Which they said they would provide.
Right.
If we went ahead.
Which, yeah, and again, I think that the impervious versus pervious is essentially an open space or building coverage. Take your pick, both of which are included in the Dover Amendment. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for that.
Right. Well, I have a list of stipulations actually that have been given to us about some of the things that the board wants to consider as far as stipulations if we approve this. So just to put some of them in front of you, no loitering in the backyard of building, which is on Amory Street. No smoking allowed in the back parking area of the building. Smoking designated at front of building only on Linwood. Trash should be picked up on Linwood Road at a respectable hour. It was stated it would be picked up twice a week. All deliveries are to not be made from Armory Street, only from Linwood Road. Minimum 6-foot privacy fence placed adjacent to existing fence, butting 9 Armory. Does that take care of you? That's the privacy that you were talking about. Snow removal at reasonable hours in a mindful manner. Traffic pattern not to interrupt Armory Street. This seems to be a pattern with Armory Street. So I'm thinking that was probably even a problem with the nursing home. So traffic pattern not to interrupt Armory Street, flow of traffic into provided parking area behind 28 Linwood Road should enter from and leave from Linwood Road only. No loud music playing from vehicles in parking area. No Uber ride, shared pickup, drop off from Armory Street. Easement to always remain clear of all parked vehicles. Do those sound about right to you? I know you're mostly against it, period, but if it's that we put these stipulations in place, would that help?
Yes.
All except for the bed count.
All except for the bed count.
Yeah, I would add the good neighbor list that was provided along with, a contact, an actual contact posted somewhere. It doesn't have to be a giant sign, but somewhere, if somebody's having a problem, somebody's parked on their property, they know who to contact. And whoever's in charge of the house, if it's just, somebody needs to be designated to deal with the nuisance stuff like that. Because calling somebody after hours when somebody parks in front of their driveway and they can't get out doesn't work. And we don't want to have police coming down to address these issues, getting calls like that. So having somebody that can just address those short-term concerns would help a lot, along with those stipulations. The other stipulation I would be is this would, we would be approving this as a MASH approved house, a sober house under those guidelines. That, I don't know, they're talking about operating it. If they sold this, whoever's gonna run it, I'll be in charge of it. It's being approved as a MASH approved facility, not some other type of group home, not some type of renting rooms and that sort of thing. That's what it would be approved for under this.
I don't have any particular preferences or strong feelings in terms of the bed count, either 24 or a lesser amount or what is being proposed. My main concern is the impermeability of the property and how that affects and how the applicant is demonstrating that is just for the sake of trying to comply with the parking space. It is a sacrifice that is being made or not, or if it's going to be remediated or not. Since I don't have that answer or cannot have that answer in the site plan today, if there is a vote for approval, I will be voting no because of that reason.
Okay.
But that's it.
I think that's
what I said. I have no objections to the number of beds or anything like that. I'm okay.
So you would prefer to put off a motion right now until we get that information about pervious?
Ideally, yes. I would like to see what the applicant can come up with, if they can come up with anything in terms of remediating the open space question, the impermeability question, in order to make the parking spot work.
Okay. So,
I mean, it's typically the way we do it is we want to see the plan before we vote on it. And I think we want to follow that precedent that we.
Yes.
Yes. Hi. I'd like to bring up the points that they were included in the letter. One of the points, and I haven't seen any answer to that, is the Grace House doing any comprehensive and extensive background regarding the residents, and what is the procedure?
I believe that they do their background checks, correct me if I'm wrong.
They do Corey,
based
what
on,
do they do?
Can you answer her question? Can you come up to the mic, please, and answer her question? Because I know you talked about this once before.
Hi, good evening. I'm Taylor Lenham. Hi, I do an extensive background check.
Can you talk into the mic?
Sorry. I do an extensive background check, criminal history, database, housing court, regular court.
Okay, I would respectfully ask if you can submit that in writing.
It is submitted.
It is submitted?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's for the MASH organization. They do it exactly how that organization dictates.
Okay.
So they follow all those rules.
Okay.
That's why we made that a stipulation, that it be a MASH.
My second question was that Grace House guarantees that the people who reside there are completely sober and clean, correct? In case someone relapses, Is there a protocol that this person can be removed in another facility safe, or he's out in the neighborhood?
Yeah, we had submitted documents going over our membership agreement, and I'd handed out documents. I'm happy to forward you an email with our membership agreement.
So what is the procedure?
I'm not gonna, I've done this a bunch.
But please, for the benefit of everybody who's here and we don't know, it would help.
She's gonna talk into the mic.
Make sure you guys are talking to the mic.
It would help if we know what is the procedure. If someone is relapsing, or what should
Please, I don't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. That was my answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We had, as the board may recall, we had submitted previously the procedures and the membership and the vetting process before people are allowed, or offered, to become a tenant there. They have to sign a contract. There are obligations that they are to, have a certain number of hours that they work or volunteer. Obviously, sobriety is required. They're not protected if they're not sober, and there is a procedure. So if you would like us to submit to you, it's part of the zoning board records, and we will resubmit to you the membership agreement. I believe that the prior statement that we had submitted for Taylor.
And the membership agreement. My question is, who is enforcing it outside of Grace House? That's my question. Who is enforcing that the people who are out of the Grace House are okay and functioning if they are not residents of the Grace House? That's my question.
I think what she's alluding to is if somebody relapses, they can't stay in the Grace, in the home. And when they leave the home, are they referred to some other place? Are they just put out to the curb?
Are they taken?
What happens to them?
Treatment centers and
Who is doing that? Is Grace House responsible of taking a person who has relapsed and does not belong into the residence, responsibly transfer them to a place that is appropriate for them? Because City Hall cannot do that, police cannot do that, and the neighbors cannot do that.
Yeah, I think that, should be a stipulation that if somebody needs to be more or less evicted from the home, that they're brought to an appropriate place, whether it be that or not. Not put into the neighborhood.
With all due respect, this is getting well outside of zoning considerations, and we're talking about substance abuse sort of things, and I just want to make certain that everyone stays in their lane.
If you're putting people out in the street, then I'm not going to vote for this. If you're putting somebody on the sidewalk in front of people's homes, my answer is no.
I believe if you look at the match certifications.
I'd like to add on to that question. If they refuse to be transported somewhere else and they're kicked out of the home, what is done? If they refuse to get in a car in an Uber, they refuse to be seen by a medic, what is done with them? Can you force them to go anywhere? No, which means they're stuck out on the street. It's not exactly very.
I think the lack of answer and the vagueness and the pattern of the answers is what is making people nervous. We're just trying to get some answers.
Again, but if we were requesting for this to be converted into a 3-family.
Is there a policy in place?
There's the protocol that they will not, if they're not eligible for membership, and they're going to be referred to a treatment center.
And do they come and pick them up?
That's 3 different things.
We do have a procedure.
Excuse me.
Excuse me?
Oh, go ahead, speak, please.
Okay, we do have emergency relapse procedure in our membership agreement, which we've shared with everyone. And part of that, when people sign in to move in, they are agreeing to our procedure where if you don't come home, right, we treat that as an emergency. whether that's you go back out to using, because most people, when they pick up using, the last place people want to return to is the home they were living. It comes with a lot of shame. But we have a procedure. When they come in, they know that their emergency contact is going to be notified. So that's one additional person. Also, I will sit with somebody for hours if it takes to get them into a treatment center, and then I Uber people. I don't throw people to the street. More often than not, people don't want to come to a properly run sober home under the influence because it's shameful.
Yeah, can you put that in the document that will be the procedure?
It's in there.
I believe it's been.
You mentioned you Uber them
Yeah, I do.
in that document? I don't recall seeing that.
It's a transportation. If they're non-combative and cooperative, we will facilitate in transportation to treatment. It's in there.
Okay.
I didn't even mention the word. I didn't. If they're combative, then I
Call the police.
I have to call the police. And anyone. If anyone was combative, well, then it'd be.
Excuse me.
But it can happen anywhere, and it really hasn't happened in the home that I've run for many years.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing and it's in the documents.
It is.
Yeah.
And
Reassure the people that it is in there.
yeah, I've shared them.
We have a copy of that?
Yes.
That
And
we-
Everything's in there.
So any interested people could reach out to our clerk's office and get a copy of that if you're all interested and see what's in there content-wise.
What about like they decide to move out and not come back to the facility and get a bunch of abandoned house? Instead of going back to the facility, then you guys don't know.
Yeah, that's all in there as an emergency. It's all in there as an emergency. It's treated as an emergency.
They have an hour. They have to be back to the home by.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I think this has been part of the problem, is there have been so many questions asked of them every time we've been here, and you guys have gotten the answers, but anytime an attorney has spoken, it's only about what she has in front of her and just the laws and the protection. That's all it's ever been about. It's not, oh, the questions regarding drug testing, the questions regarding substance use. They've never addressed any of that for any one of us that has asked any one of those questions. And that's why some of the newer people that have gotten wind of what's going on in the neighborhood are now asking these questions because we were never given them. So we couldn't relay any of that information. So that's where the fairness lies, that everybody is looking for it to stay safe. She lives over an hour away. If they call after 11 o'clock at night, it's going to take her over an hour to get there. So now we're sitting there with police and 911 next door.
Well, there's a manager supposedly being in, there's a manager in that.
She's the emergency contact. She says it's stated right in her paperwork that in the good neighbor policy, she is the emergency contact, the operator name and phone number. So anytime something happens when she leaves for her 20 to maybe 30 hours a week that she's supposed to be working there, somebody else has to be in charge of that house. And we already know that it's going to be another sober person, but those hours for those people were listed as well. She's working 20 to 30 hours a week, and then somebody's coming in working from 7:30 to 11 and 11 to 5:30. Who's covering all that open time then? If there's only two people that are going to work that overnight shift time. These are all the questions we've asked, and we haven't gotten any answers to our ears for us to know in here.
That's unfortunate. It seems like they could have done a better job of presenting this whole project to it.
I'm 34 Lynn Road. When Rick had the nursing home, discussed getting the gates at steep, and when I have to go out of business, they got me down to 21 beds. And that's why he supposed to went out of business, like he had 11 patients, and they were horizontal. They're not coming in and out, smoking taxis and all that. If he was only allowed 21 beds, how could they ask for more beds? I don't understand it. They
All right, we had an opportunity for you to sign in.
I hear you. Believe me, I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
I just want to give my opinion. If we were to make a vote on 34 beds, my vote would be no. I am open to hearing for less beds. I'm open to working with you guys, but if we're voting today on 34 beds, it would be no.
Yeah, it would be no for me.
She said no. Very quick question. You were all talking about stipulations as a possibility of mitigating some of these questions. My question is, what's the enforcement mechanism? How would you know what to do if, for example, there's no smoking in the back? Now people are smoking in the back. What's the, if we go to the manager or somebody else and say, hey, they're smoking, and no pun intended, they blow us off, what's the mechanism? What happens then? What do we do?
If they're in violation of zoning, it's an inspectional services issue. Is it not, Mr. Poole? You still here? Yeah, it's enforceable under,
Enforceable, as long as it's in the documentation.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to say one thing. I like at not the last meeting because everything was postponed. Meeting before you made proposals for 10 to 14 beds that they should stop. And I like that proposal better than 24 that's out there now.
It's 34.
34, yeah.
No, she wanted 34. They proposed 10 to 14 to stop with when all the questions came up.
Yes, ma'am. I don't believe we've heard from you before, so we need your name, please, and your address.
Jill Regan. Address.
Address.
Address. Okay. I'm here supporting Steve. Okay.
Hello, my name is Joan Regan. I'm a real estate agent here in the city of Lynn, and I'm kind of assisting Steve Sclavonis who is next door. He's the direct abutter on the other side. My question is, will these people that are going to be in the sober house have a car?
Yeah, we kind of went over that already. They're only going to be allowed, there's only 6 people in that entire place that's going to be allowed a car, plus the manager. So that's a total of 7.
I didn't hear that.
Okay.
I was here, but the acoustics aren't great
No, they're not
in
here.
here.
But does that help?
Well, yeah, because I'm saying if they do have a car, where parking?
Yeah, they've presented a parking plan today. We have a parking plan for 7 parking spaces.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm glad the easement was settled.
Yes.
Okay. Well, good luck, everybody. I'm leaving.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, if
I'm sorry, what?
I would, if the applicant would like to withdraw without prejudice, or the board feels that an actual final decision has to be taken tonight, I would probably suggest a continuance. If the applicant is open to that, I'm only suggesting a continuance for the purposes of the impervious surface.
Okay,
issue.
so here's what I'll do. I'll make a motion. I will make a motion to continue this case to the next meeting. I don't know when.
August 4th.
August 4th. And we're looking for the landscape plan and the pervious versus impervious.
This is what we're looking for. All that.
Oh, good Lord. The landscape plan. Yeah, fixing the fence. Yeah, but
There's a chain link fence along Amory Street that's falling apart.
yeah, fixing
needs
that
to be-
fence, and that needs to be showing on the landscape plan.
The screening fence along the
Yeah,
property line.
that needs to be showing on the landscape plan
Impervious.
and make it look like a home. Okay.
Parking space 1 has
Yeah.
to be fixed.
Parking space 1 has to
And all
be,
the stipulations that you stated.
actually, parking space 1 needs to be called out on how much they're covering up if they're adding to the impervious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Match approved, it's gonna be a match approved.
Yeah, match approved. I have that on the stipulations.
Yep.
Yep, I've got all the stipulations.
Sure.
So
I'll make the motion to continue this case till the next meeting.
The applicant would like to say something.
Yeah, I have a question actually. The stipulations that you were making, what's the source of them, just so I know, and is a copy that's circulated? Like, where did these stipulations come from?
I just was handed them tonight.
Okay.
They were handed to me. They were handed to me tonight as the neighborhood established that this was the minimum.
These stipulations came in from the neighborhood. Do we know who?
I wouldn't tell you if I knew. Exactly.
The stipulations to zoning board if approved. If a-
Trying to work through.
The councilman handed it to me, okay? So it came from his neighborhood. I don't know who they came from.
I'm just saying, there's questions that we have. One, we provided a list of it, and two, who should we contact if we want to discuss it?
Yeah, we'll give you that list so you
You
can,
can contact the board because they got the stipulations.
yeah.
They're gonna go over the stipulations, if you accept them, that's what's gonna happen.
And the stipulations.
The stipulations from
You or.
I'm just letting you know.
Just trying to understand.
Letting you know.
How this came about.
You know, that's 3 minutes. You got an hour, they gave us 3 minutes each. Enough is enough.
So you will be provided a copy of those to review. All right, so you'll have them in hand. And we're expecting some things back from you as well, to continue this. It's definitely a concern that, you know, it sounds like 34 residents in this building is not going to be approved by this board, just to, you know, it's obvious. But there may be a number lower that provides accommodation. You know, I look at literature on sober homes, the most successful ones are between 10 and 15. The building itself, when it closed, had 11 residents in it. When it closed, their closure plan that they submitted to the state indicated that they were only licensed at that time for 22 residents. They had to provide a plan to rehouse people in the nursing home for those 11 remaining in the 11 bedrooms. So, and then our parking zoning regulations, just looking at this as a lodging zoning, because that's essentially what it acts like, because it's certainly not a home, exactly a house environment that I've seen other sober homes. It's kind of this hybrid situation. So I don't know what that number is that the board will say yes or no on, but just so you know that it's not going to be 34.
Okay, there's a motion on the table.
I'll second that for continuation.
May I make one suggestion? And this is just an invitation to the board and city councilor. If you would like to come and tour, we have the open house previously, it wasn't attended, but if that helps address any that we would like to coordinate with the board, and if you want to make a site visit, we encourage that.
If the board just wants to do it, I think that not all members can be on the same site at once because it might trigger open meeting law, so it would have to be partitioned or something.
We're happy to do that as well.
You could post the meeting if the board wanted to, and as long as it was properly posted, I don't see any reason why the board couldn't meet. And even Scott, as long as it was properly posted, and the address was given the board.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the site before. I've driven by the site recently. I have the plans of what's proposed inside. Have those been changed since January as that up front?
It's been a lot of discussion that's occurred this evening and the prior hearings. I think it helps to see, like, it very much is the intent of the applicant to make this a home for the people there, and they want to be part of the community. And these are people that are in conflict. They're not people that are addicts. They're in recovery, and sometimes we're dehumanizing who's going to be there. And I think it would be helpful to see
So, yeah, so it's,
It's just, it's, and people, it doesn't add a person.
I agree.
I think that it may be helpful to the board, so again, we extend the invitation.
Yeah, I don't think it changes what my concerns are, but, you know, I would entertain going there, but it doesn't, you know, I can see what's outside, I can go inside, but I know what looking at the plans and being in the industry, I visualize what's there.
I think it would be helpful with more effort to spend some kind of presentation if this is going to be continued. There's really been no effort, and I hear you that you're making an effort for an open house, but no one has that time. We have our own lives outside of this, and it's really on the onus of you guys to put together some type of preparation for these things. They shouldn't be having to ask for plans 8 times. We shouldn't be having to ask what is going on, what is here. How do you know you're going to be successful here? How are we going to mitigate any damages stress of the community? There's been no response to any type of show us what you're doing. There's nothing so far. No plans, no renderings, nothing. Not shared with us at least.
We had a community meeting where
I was there, yeah, that's what I asked for.
and the first, and it was really difficult to give an answer. So every time I would do an answer, we would get
So again,
It's not a presentation.
A presentation is different.
really standard things that businesses do to get through the zoning.
I'm surprised your lawyer didn't know that.
I don't know why we're just pursuing the entire process completely. Again,
I just want to go on record real quick. After the first meeting, I did say that to you guys, that you guys should host a meeting and bring the
Yes,
resident. I stated that.
And second meeting, just to clarify the record, we informed that, first of all, the city councilor kind of organized one without just telling us about who the witness, but you know, rentals were there. And then they also at that, they had established an open house. They had established an open house and invited everybody.
Talking to an open house is not a presentation. A presentation is telling people exactly what to expect, what you're asking them to expect, and what it's going to look like and how it's going to live every single day of their life.
And an open house.
Because the majority of the
Can you come up to the mic?
It's not very
Please take it out.
So, I mean,
Again,
we have professionals on this board, and there's obviously a couple of professionals in the audience that understand that when you go in front of a board, you come with the board, here's our plan.
Yep.
Sometimes it's a PowerPoint presentation. Sometimes it's handouts and outline of this is our process, not something that was, this is the MASH regulation, and this is this, and it's submitted here, but it's not, you don't go through it step by step by step.
Yes.
You did not go through it and explain it in a professional presentation.
Especially you didn't do it with your neighbors.
So it makes me think you're kind of in over your head when it comes to this, and not understanding what the process should be, and coming in as trying to do something that requires a professional to do that. More so maybe on the architectural side, and also on the programming side of what you're doing, to explain and educate people what you really do, but what the process, and to ease those concerns. Because there's things in the file here that are there, but you get an F on communicating what you're doing. Just coming up here and just going off the cuff and say, we handed it to you, is not a presentation. Okay? And I think that's what the concerns are. And me as a professional, I get nervous when somebody doesn't understand the basics on what that means.
And
set out the fact that this was bought before a feasibility study was even done is
is asking for these issues. It's wild. I've never heard anything like this.
I just have one additional I'm ready to vote on the continuation or not. I just have one additional question. I know that property 585 Boston Street was mentioned tonight for context purposes. I would like, for context purposes, to ask the applicant, how many beds does the property in Beverly that they currently manage have?
In their Beverly property?
They said that before.
30.
30, okay.
30 beds or 30 people.
30 beds.
30.
Okay, thank you.
As you did say previously, typically you are expecting half capacity to stretch out the schedule during the last 2 months. And you only expect after that half capacity to allow for issues between residents.
I don't believe that was.
That was absolutely true.
Correct. Correct. The request is for a maximum occupancy. That doesn't mean that it will be up to that maximum occupancy.
To that point that Beverly has 30, you were occupancy 15. I said 35, I've never said half, but that, again, that was what we said in the last community meeting. It's all recorded. You can go look at it. We can look at it. You did.
Okay, the purpose for that question was, and I think I alluded to it on the previous meeting, is that the property in Beverly, since other properties are being brought in relation to zoning areas, density, neighborhood, the other property, from looking at it and having passed through it, it is in a much different context in terms of built environment. It is a lot more open. There is a lot more traffic flow, and it is not as densely packed as this neighborhood. So that's the reason why, given that this other property was also mentioned. That's all.
Okay. So
In a different community.
Vince seconded the motion. You want to?
Yep. Who did the motion?
I do.
And who did the second?
I did.
Olson?
Yep.
Thank you. So is August 4th enough time for you? So to continue to August 4th, we need a landscaping plan. We need to, Amory Street, the chain link fence fixed, pervious and impervious on the plans. We need to see the chain link fence on the landscaping plan. We need to correct the impervious on the parking space number 1. Make the home look like a home, blend well in the neighborhood. The stipulations by the neighbors, MASH approved. House under the guidelines, and stipulation of, about the eviction brought to the place if they get evicted.
Yeah, and also the fence at the face of the parking, like this, a screening fence.
Screening fence, okay.
Yeah,
It's your property.
to the adjacent property.
I'm sorry, details about the monitoring process. We had asked that in the previous hearing, we didn't get any information.
What was the
monitor processing, they said.
The what processing?
The monitoring. They said that the managers monitor the activities of the residents and if they are out of the.
Yeah, she was going to email you the.
Right. We asked for that in the previous hearing. Please, I respectfully ask the board to ask to have this information submitted to the board.
I'll put it on.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna ask for all that. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Member Maggio, to continue to August 4th.
Yes, to continue.
Member Gilrain, to continue to August 4th.
Yes.
Member Lopez Hernandez, to continue to August 4th.
Yes, to continue.
Member Olson, to continue to August 4th.
Yes, to continue.
Member Crowitz, to continue to August 4th.
Yes. Okay.
Take a break.
Want to break?
Yeah,
We got 2 more cases. You got.
so they can read.
Take a 5-minute break.
Let everybody leave.
Okay, the next case we're going to hear is 96 Light Street.
Let everybody go.
Are these things live?
You saw all the pictures.
Is there anybody coming here from 96 Lights?
Yes, Sam, yeah. Sam's 96.
I was looking at Mr. Vitale. Okay, that's fine.
He's right there.
That's fine. I didn't realize it was.
So this is what you're looking for.
He's
That's what you're looking for, you asked for.
Oh, yeah, I have it all written down.
going back. We were here in the past, there were
Yeah.
some questions about the board had. I hope that we're all looking at the same plan. It was
The one dated 6/22.
6/22/26.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more- Do you have it?
I have it.
Do they all?
I have
Thank you.
The surveyor put a zoning table. If you recall, the board in 2022 approved the property as a two-family, but that was under the old zone ordinance. Now it's under the new zone ordinance. One of the issues that the new zone ordinance creates, it has a ratio of land to units, but if you use that ratio, it's greater than what the allowed size is for a three-family dwelling. The other change is that even if the board approves, under the new zone ordinance, it has to go to site plan review because the new ordinance says any three or more has to go to site plan review, which is clearly an additional. But the questions that the board had, I believe, related to the probably every case you get dealing with, which is impervious lot coverage, which is 80%. And I think we did the math with it. I think the footprint of the building is like 1320. When I did the math, I think we needed 800 square feet. The architect showed the 10% minimum green space. He showed it in a couple of places. But I believe that what we were concerned about is adding, where he says crushed stone 10 by 40, that really gives us the 800. I think we have some back here and back here. So I think we just barely make the current requirement of at least 20% is permeable. Then the other question, I believe, was, and I provided a photograph from the blizzard of February of 26 about where the snow was stored.
Oh, that's what that was.
No, that's what it was.
I didn't know what that picture was. Okay.
Yeah, that's when that picture was taken. And that's the actual, how it worked out. And the last one, you're going to get your opportunity again in terms of math, okay, is that the issue relates to what is parallel parking. So I'm simple-minded, and I went and looked up in Merriam-Webster the definition of parallel parking, and then I went to a thing called dimensions.com, and essentially it's, and mind you, the other thing about the zone ordinance is that it says for a parallel parking stall. It's on, I gave the clerk the actual page from the current zone ordinance. It says the parallel parking stall is 8 by 22. And I think the question arises as to whether this is a parallel parking stall. So we had 5 spaces, 8 by 22. If you don't believe it's a parallel parking stall, then I think the question is, are you required to have 9 by 18? And that we can't make because the lot's only 40 feet front and rear. I would say that is a practical difficulty, and that's a phrase you'll be hearing much of, because the variance statute has changed, and it's in effect today, and it says that you're entitled to a variance if there's a practical difficulty. I think this is a practical difficulty. But with respect to the green space, we can clearly make that, and you see on the side, if you're looking from the street to the right side, as it shows on the plan, you see it says grass and landscape. I don't know, I know there's plantings at the front.
Yeah,
and I don't see that on there, but I know they're there.
Yeah, there's a little more green.
So I think we meet the minimum in terms of green space, and I think we're damn close on, when I did the math at least, I think the building's 13, one of the things that I should say, because Jason reminded me, is the footprint of the building's never changed. The footprint of the building is the footprint of the building. What it was in 22 is what it is in 26. So that, which really is, I think I said the last time I was here, what really changed is the application of the current zone ordinance to the same property, and whether we satisfy some of those requirements, which I knew. And I would suggest to you that if you think we don't, I think we're entitled to it, because I think the current standard we can satisfy, which, again, the people who are in charge make the rules, and they say that we're entitled, we need a variance if it's a practical difficulty. And so, but we did have the plan added with the zoning table, with the green space that we could see. And then the crushed stone, as I think you pointed out to me, there was always a space at the rear, and now we were going to add 10 by 40 crushed stone to make that pervious. That's 400. So I think we get the 800, and that's the number I think we need in terms of pervious.
The requirement, I think, is 10% green.
Yeah, that we made.
Previous, and the existing was basically nothing except for the gravel in the back, which is about 5 by 40, so 200 square feet on these, so about 20%. And you ask me to make a big effort, strong effort to try to improve this.
Yeah, so the percent impervious, the way you're showing it, is 80%? Okay, so that's what we need to say on here, is percent impervious, proposed percent impervious is 80%, because that's how it reads in the table?
Yeah, yeah.
For the zoning.
It is, I mean, if you do the math on it,
Yeah.
the lesser going to be by the percentages.
Yeah.
The longer variances.
Also, did he sign it in June or did he design it in July?
June.
I think he misstated it.
Probably so many times.
Because it's dated.
No, the one 20 was dated June.
This one's dated.
What's the date on this one? June 22nd?
Yeah.
The one before was June 15.
Yeah.
He may not, this is clearly the latest one.
Yeah.
Because there was one that I had that didn't have a signature, and I sent it back to get his signature.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, basically what I'm planning to do to satisfy the board's requirement is, or the zoning requirement really is, to take out the asphalt that's 4 by 100, the entire length of the lot on the right hand side of the house. So
Yeah.
Cut that down with grass.
Grass, yeah.
So that's about 400 square feet. The lot is about 4,000. So that grass strip becomes about 400 square feet, give or take. So that should satisfy the 10% or very close to it. Then in addition to that, in the back of the parking lot, right in the back of the parking, there's gravel, and they're currently about 5 by 40. So you're gonna extend that to 10 by 40, which gives about 400 square feet. If you add the grass, which is another 400, give or take, it's about 800. So I'm almost at full compliance.
Yeah, so we just need to say that on this drawing. Yeah, yeah.
I just point out, when I was doing the math, I went to the field card because it has a diagram of the house, and that's where I got the number. But I just reminded myself that for some reason, on the field card, they say the lot is 4,058.
Sam, talking to the mic, please. Talking to the mic.
The field card says that the assessed land is 4,058. That's, but the plot plan, 40 by 100, I figure is 4,000. But it clearly states that the house footprint is listed, first floor is 1,300. So I use that number. And I did the math and came out that I needed like 800 square feet.
I think the zoning for the previous space and green.
Yeah, but so we believe that we make it on impervious coverage.
Yeah, but the building is part of that impervious.
The only question I have is, and I don't know the answer to this question, are you allowed to use crushed stone in parking spaces? How would you allow that?
Yeah, I would suggest, I don't think that's allowed as a paving surface, but you can go with like a pervious.
Permeable.
Yeah, that would probably be a better idea, even for upkeep.
Yeah.
Yeah, this permeable pavement,
Either
Yeah.
pervious pavement or pervious pavers, something along that line would stand up to parking a car on it. 'Cause I wouldn't want to park a car on stone.
You don't want to park
He
in
wouldn't.
gravel, is what you're saying.
Chris wouldn't,
Well, I mean,
nobody else would.
found that out for all.
Yeah,
The parking, I think, is okay, but the plowing, right, it's probably.
yeah, the stone will be gone the first snowstorm.
It's a small area, it's no problem.
So parallel parking is when you're parking down the street and you pull up and you back in and you park, that's parallel parking along
I agree with you, but you said the magic phrase at the beginning, on the street. If you look up Merriam-Webster, you look up dimensions.com, it says parallel.
Traffic
parking is on
engineer,
the top.
traffic engineer will call
It's on a
that
parking
parallel.
lot, not on the street.
Traffic engineer will call that parallel parking, and a lawyer might be something else, but we go by traffic.
Well,
But then also when you're parking in a stall, you need to be open and close your doors with the person next to you. And that's why it's a foot wider, to allow you to get in and out of your car.
But that's why I pointed out to you that where it says 8 by 22, it's the only place that uses the phrase parking stall.
Yeah, so that's a concern. The other thing is the fence on the butters probably looks like it's encroaching onto your property.
There's a question about the placement of the fence.
So
The fence doesn't follow the line because the line is, I think, a little crooked and the fence is.
I thought he showed that too.
yeah, he does show it on this plan. So I don't, I don't know how you would be. Yeah, but you can't build the parking stall there because the fence there, so you're gonna have to get that moved somehow. Because you can't build the parking spot. But I don't know if these don't really meet the mustard, I guess, so to speak.
If you're in spot 5 and 1 through 4 are filled, I just don't see how you could get out of there.
That was, we did a test drive one afternoon on the last space, number 5.
So if you're looking at the parking stall, the range is 22 feet long, the car is only about 16, 17 feet long. So there's 5 more feet.
That's why they make it by 22. But what I was concerned about was that you could get out onto Light Street facing the right way.
So what is the third floor consisting of?
Bedrooms.
So what is it? So is it a full apartment?
It's just bedrooms and then bathrooms. And it's like a.
Well, you're going.
There's a living space.
So you're making a 3-family out of it, right? So so you got 1, 2 now. What is that third unit?
It's combined with the second floor, and then there's bedrooms and like an open, you could call it living space.
So describe the 3 units.
There's a 4-bedroom on the second floor that has 2 bathrooms. And then the second and third floor combined for a total of 8 bedrooms and 4 into 6 bathrooms.
We had pictures of that, I thought.
But the interior, they're aligned.
So you have 3 units. One's a 4-bedroom, one's an 8-bedroom, and what's the third one?
No, there's 2 units.
Right now?
Yes.
Okay. And you
We'll separate the second and third floor. The unit egress in the back, which I think we presented.
Okay.
That's a rear staircase, yeah.
Rear staircase, but up to, but it's basically just, I'm not extending the building, I'm just adding the staircase in the back.
So you're basically dividing the building up into 3 existing.
Correct.
And just reconfiguring interior space with the kitchen and egresses.
In the back to allow the egress, the hall doesn't go back to the house, but it's all interior.
Yeah.
And in the back side, we're not adding any stairs at the bottom, we're just continuing the existing building with 2 legs instead of.
Yeah, the third goes to the second, which is already the staircase.
The staircase is there to go to the second floor deck, and we just need to continue it on to the third. We have to build it first for them. So it's not a lot.
I guess my concern is like those 8-footers aren't wide enough.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much I can do with the lot. This probably doesn't matter to the board, but it's a funny note. I went to the house today, and currently there's a tenant that has had a broken car.
Can you talk into the mic?
So it's had a broken car for like, I think a year now, and I asked him to remove it. He's not removing it, but
The other tenant who wants me to remove it, obviously, says, Jack, if you just take it out, you can park 6 cars there. I look at it, I was like, I don't take it, guys. It's just as a side comment. But realistically, probably 5 cars can fit there. I know legally that we're on the cusp of being there or not being there, and I can't really fight it. It is what it is. But practically, probably 5 cars go in there, and I'm not increasing the number of people that live in the building. Like, nothing changes. The only thing that changes is the designation of the house. I have to add a kitchen, add a staircase, reconfigure the interior.
So have you approached house 92 on that fence? Because you're gonna have to move, you can't build the parking stall with that fence there. And sometimes that can be a long process.
So, you mean to push this fence back this way?
To put it on the property line.
You gotta go to the mic.
Not in the middle of your parking stall. Well, not the middle, but.
The fence is in the middle.
Taking another foot out of your
foot. Yeah, I mean.
So now it's 7 feet.
I can ask the guy. I did not talk to him. I know him. He rents that house.
It's his fence, isn't it?
When I bought the property, the fence was there.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're calling it his or not, but I mean, yeah.
Is it his or yours? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I can talk to him and see.
Yeah, because right now you don't have that stall with that fence there.
If that foot makes a difference, and I can ask.
I'm still concerned about being able to back up. If you have a 22-foot stall, you only have 15 feet to back up. That doesn't make sense.
Again, the stall is 22, but the car is closer to 16, 17. So it's really.
Yeah, you can back this one. The concern was that you come out heading towards Light Street. So the space 5 is the one we looked at. So you back out, you turn, and you come down the drive.
Yeah, 5 is the difficult one because you're going to go straight back, all the way back, and then try to turn. You can't turn the wheel.
Most of the tenants that I have, not just in this house but another house too, they get back into the driveway. They enter the driveway backwards.
Yeah, they're not doing that in that driveway.
Yeah, and
Same
it's actually narrow, we're gonna have to deal with the width of this driveway as well.
Yeah.
I have a question for our esteemed legal mind. Could you confirm the effective date of the changes to 40A that were included in the budget?
So, the changes are effective. What the changes actually mean, I think, are up for debate. There's no case law on it. There is, I guess the interpretation, you probably look at legislative notes, but my understanding is that this was literally just like put into.
This was an outside section on the budget. But the next phrase after practical difficulty was to promote housing.
It's a consideration. I think that's always a consideration. But again,
it did go through the normal legislative process.
So typically you look to legislative intent. I don't know that you have that yet because it was just put in an outside section. That body of law will be developed over the next couple of years, I'm assuming. But right now, my interpretation of what a practical difficulty is different than ceilings. I'm sure we'll be in litigation soon, I'm sure. But that's your, however you read that statute is really is what I would advise you to go on. What do you deem to be a practical difficulty using your interpretation of the words? But it is.
So you got 3 units. Unit 1 has how many bedrooms?
4.
Unit 2?
Well, they're existing 2 units.
Oh, proposed.
Proposed, I'm sorry. How many bedrooms? 4.
And unit 3?
4, it's the same footprint.
4, okay.
So they're 12 bedrooms.
Yeah. So what's the maximum size of an ADU unit?
That won't work. It doesn't. I mean, it's 900 square feet for an ADU.
Okay.
Or half.
So it'd have to be like a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom?
Yeah. I mean, the problem is that effectively changing the building.
Yeah.
It didn't work, so if I were to shrink it down to an ADU, I have to cut some building off.
No, you're keeping 1/6, 1/4, 1/2.
The problem with that physically, it becomes now the second floor has the second floor and part of the third floor, which becomes much more difficult in terms of physically doing the work.
Yeah.
A lot expensive. And honestly, that's the way you would ask me to do it. Just throw it in the touch.
Yeah. And I'm just concerned because right now these parking spaces aren't, like, we'd have to give you a variance for the parking spaces in the driveway. And you couldn't get occupancy for that until that fence was moved.
I would want to see a certified parking plan to move forward. That swing to me, especially with the staircase right there, that looks dangerous to me.
Yeah, so I think she was looking at it as like a movement, like how that, like a turning radius, how that vehicle would back up and get out, standard vehicle. The turning movement for that stall 5.
Especially 3, because your stall 3 is pushed out a little bit.
And install 1 because you go back, but then.
So you can do 4.
You go back, but you got to get past this car to turn the wheel. Like I don't know how you.
And this is all either backing in, like I would need to see a parking.
Like 1 would have to back in because you can't turn the wheel.
Should probably.
Well, you'd have to go like this. You turn back, and then you have to go back and back in, and then get out.
Or the other.
You'd have to do like a 5-point turn.
The other option would be just to go back to the 9x18. I think is the size and just do 4 parking spaces.
Yeah.
No risk of variance. Or and so I'm a realtor by trade, and I've seen this done in Boston, where some developers will rent parking spaces where they're required to have on site, which they don't, because Boston is so dense. So I've seen that when they go sell new construction. So I could try to do that. I could try to go to the neighbors and see the guy across the street actually has a very big like open parking lot space right in front of the Selfless house. Set that probably 6 or 7 parking.
Yeah, I mean, it's not guaranteed because when you sell the house, that doesn't necessarily go with it. Yeah, but it's.
So, and the other things that we noticed, because the other things that we asked for that we didn't get were snow removal location, trash location.
So the trash location for a 3-family dwelling, you put barrels out. The trash ordinance, I had this before, says 6 or more units, you need a dumpster. We don't need a dumpster.
No, again, nothing. Just show the trash barrel. I took
But the barrel,
because you'll have 6 barrels. That's a lot of barrels.
Is it under the deck?
So the barrels currently where they are on the side of the house, the green barrel.
Just show.
And again, because of the amount of people living there, it doesn't really change. It's probably not going to change the trash situation too much. The snow, I did include the pictures where the
yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so that, and hopefully that satisfies that. I think everything is satisfied except the parking. Parking is.
Well, if you could, it's the parking, the gravel, and then if you could just show the trash cans where you're putting them, then we know where they are.
And then what the actual impervious percentage is.
Yes.
Put the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we're looking for is like if this changes over the course of time, like this is what we had, this is the improvement you made, right? So the existing was this, and now you added green space, which in impervious pavement, so that number's improved.
On the things that I can do, I'm willing to do everything.
Yeah.
Previous, the green space, the impervious space, trash, no, it's easy. I'll try to move the fence if the guy is not able to that. That's also very much he rents that house and maybe he won't care.
Did you ask for a variance for the number of parking here?
Originally?
Yeah.
No, because the 2 family.
Say it again? No, I'm talking about for this proposed. You're looking to make that 3.
I don't think so, sure. What we asking for a parking variance, but we assume that this recommended satisfy the 5.
So I guess that's the question for the board.
Yeah.
Are we more are folks here more amicable to a variance of the width or the number of stalls?
I think,
I think for me, I kind of have an issue with both
yeah,
because of how you literally either have to
Well, I mean,
back
like-
down.
Would going down to 4 and he amends to ask for a variance for the number, you'd have 4 wide stalls.
yeah,
Is
you
that
got,
more or less comfortable than 5 narrow stalls? I mean, we vary the width.
yeah.
From my point of view, as an owner, it's obviously important technicality because the number of residents don't change. Like the designation of the house changes.
You need to get to the.
Oh, sorry. The designation of the house changes obviously, but the actual living conditions and whatever's currently going on really doesn't change. So
Well, it could though. You don't necessarily know that. Like if you have a whole other family, you might have 2 people.
that's true.
in
That's true.
around,
That
you
is
know,
true. It
so.
could change a little bit, but yeah. But I mean,
Well, to answer your question, I would be more comfortable with showing less parking and wider spaces simply because they're gonna ram themselves in there no matter what.
So I think, I mean, that's kind of where I'm inclined to see this move forward. We have to choose what thing to vary.
Right, and it'd be nice if you could speak to your neighbor and see if those other spaces might be available for your tenants to.
I can speak to him and the benefit, I mean, selfishly looking at it, but the benefit of going down to 4 parking spaces on the plot plan, maybe I don't have to move the fence in that case.
Yeah,
That would help me out because that's the thing I cannot control. I can control anything on my lot. With the neighbor, who knows?
you gain 4 feet on both sides, basically.
What's that?
You gain 4 feet on both sides.
I'm open to the.
Yeah.
I would,
No, if you go down to 4 parking instead of 5.
I would want to stipulate, though, that Attorney Vitale confirmed that this is not parallel
Yeah.
for future meetings.
This is not, what did he say?
At least as far as this board is concerned.
I think that the Board of Appeals is better than the Supreme, well, even not the Supreme, in terms of stare decisis, following precedent, but I think you always had the ability to, you take every case and find it. I don't think that there are precedents for the Board of Appeals. I used to think there was for the Supreme Court, but that's another story. But there's I'm just telling you, I looked up in Merriam-Webster. I said, look and see what it says. And then I agree with you that if I'm parking on the street and I park the way you say, that is fair. But if you look up in dimensions.com or you look up a definition in Merriam-Webster, it's going to say, I still don't know why it says parking stall. It's the only place it says it in the parking ordinance, but it says on-site parking, and they give you examples of, like the mall where all the cars are side by side. But it says that parallel parking is like on-site. But there are different diagrams as to how, 90-degree angle, how it can be achieved. But and we as far as the fence, I don't think we own the fence. That's the problem.
So, I mean,
It's on your property, you have a right to ask it to be placed properly.
It
goes down that side.
With the whole lot, the reason the driveway, part of the reason the driveway is so narrow is the abutting house sits right at the property line, and probably as if back of the house might even encroach.
Gotcha.
So I don't want to touch that. I don't want to touch that ten words, because that could cause trouble for him.
Yes.
Mr. Poole, do you have an opinion about the parking? What we've been discussing? I know you probably do.
You have the authority to reduce the number of spaces by special permit. That's section 6 of the law. I can get myself in there and I have a problem with it. Then you mentioned the variance, which is
Yeah. So going wider would be better.
So less number is the lowest standard.
Yeah.
Variance is the highest standard, whatever the standard happens to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Right, so do we have a motion from?
Does anybody else follow?
Well, but I have a question from a practical perspective on if it is 4 parking spaces, which I am also agreeing to and feel that it's the better scenario. If it is being advertised right now.
We advertise under section 10 for variance.
Okay.
I think I cited a couple of sections.
Does this mean that this has to re-go or no?
Why did I do that? I said, what did I say, section 9? I said 6, 9, and 10.
Re-advertised or no?
It would be insufficient.
This will be my 3rd time I think coming for this hearing of this matter of experience, but nobody showed up. So far.
No.
This, yeah.
That's
us.
It just
I don't know why I said
and
9.
precedence.
So
That's special permit. I don't know why I said that. But I didn't say 10.
yeah, I think that.
So we would.
So what does the board want to do?
So what I'll say is, you can continue it. I would need to know what the fees is going to be. If that's the avenue that they want to go down, I can look to see what the actual, whether or not it would need to be renoticed. And then I can make those, that happen if it needs to be done. If it doesn't, then we can just have it here. But whatever the case may be, if you want to continue it and reduce the parking, then that's something that can be done in the next couple of days. Continue with that.
I think you can go down. We found a plan that showed 5 that were 8 by 22, and now you want to go 4, 9 by 18. I think you can reduce it.
That's what
I don't think we can get more, but
It's a question of how substantial.
the plan we filed had 5 at 8 by 22.
Yeah, I don't think it's isn't like the change in occupancy in the building and offsets.
All right, yeah, I would be comfortable with the motion to continue, where we show all the things that we said we want to show and 4 full-size parking spaces.
A certified parking plan shows, trash locations and pervious versus impervious,
The calculation, but
the
then
calculation.
put the pervious pavers or whatever you're gonna do
Yeah.
instead of the crushed stone. Show the 4 dimensionally 9 by 18 stalls and just reconfigure it to not have to move that fence. I think that probably would cover it.
Yeah.
And then we would have to issue a variance for the,
For the driveway and parking spaces.
yeah. And what was the special permit? Would be number of spaces.
Oh, that's a special permit?
Yeah. So we'd issue a special permit to allow them to have 4 instead of 5, and then the width of the driveway is the variance. Because then the parking stalls would be the right dimensions, so we would need a variance for the dimensions of those. The 8 by 22s, we would need a variance.
Okay.
Yeah, by 18. So I'll second the motion, I guess.
We had to get that survey, I know.
With those. Continue?
Yep.
Is that for?
August 4th.
Is that good for you?
We're making new friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roll call.
Member Maggio, continue.
Yes, to continue.
Member Gilwain, continue.
Yes.
Member Lopez Hernandez, continue.
Yes, to continue.
Thank you. Member Olson to continue.
Yes, to continue August 4th.
Member Crowitz to continue.
Yes. Please tell me, but this was a bad way.
Just so you guys, just form the cases in August.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, the big day,
Yes, Mr.
Yeah, we can start that.
Christopher. Christopher.
Mr. Christopher, you can get an answer back to them?
I will let you know who you are. But I'll let you know.
Thank you so much. Okay. 206 Ocean Street.
Final determination.
And I am recusing myself. And you have something?
Yes.
Yes. Sarita, you're on.
Sarita, you're on this case. Did we have the thing from last time? That we
Yeah, we can do that.
We have 206 Ocean Street, back up. I know we had some questions the last time, a couple of things.
Yes.
Make sure it reflected the agreement. I guess there was a gentleman's agreement between the butters on.
Right, Vinny said the same person there has finished. He's another one that's made new friends.
I'm Ted Gross, and I want you to know one thing. I don't stay up this late at New Year's Eve.
So that, I believe that the people can speak to their agreement. They're really going to grow. You know, we went through this, but there was a cease and desist, and that's why I gave a list of the building permits, because it says we had to start.
Right.
That was in that building permit to do that work. It's just they made a start. Then there's several photographs that we gave with respect to the clearance of the door, and we measured it, and that there's a whole series of
Everybody seen those? I got a hard copy.
I'll share some down this.
I think one of the members was concerned that we could get out of the cellar in the door and miss the,
Yeah, it looks like, I don't know what those posts were, but, so, obviously gonna make some changes in the field, but the plan reflects what we asked for, that the railing's gonna be removed, the land at the rear of the house would be flush with the property, right? And the lower level step of the porch stairs will be removed and moved to the right, so instead of going out to the upper landscaped area, go down into the driveway. And then, yeah, there was some metal posts. The pictures show that there's room there to get it to. And then my biggest thing is, does the plot plan match the actual architect's plan? Like, are they?
They both told me, I talked to Reed yesterday, and I talked to the Martin previously, and they both said the same thing. So I'm relying on the professionals. One's a professional engineer, one's a surveyor.
So it's 15 feet off, dimensions, it's stamped, right? And you know, I understand there's a dimension for the lower part of the porch, and then the upper porch is a little bit bigger. It's the same size. Yeah, it was, but now it's
now it's
gonna be flush. Okay, yeah, you got the diamond boards hanging out there right now. So, what do we have here?
That's it.
Just to make sure you get everything.
Yeah, so proposed plot plan with final dimensions,
Yeah.
proposed deck and former deck, we have that submitted. Deck footprint, pervious and impervious calculations, we have those. Direction of the stairs on the property, we did that. Proposed deck footprint, offset distances, we did that. Report from ISD as to how many meters have been improved at the property where the approvals were given for the electrical meters. Okay.
the electrical inspector.
I think it's on that list that we gave him. The list we gave him says what's closed, what's open.
Yeah, so,
Permit, my understanding is the permit should not have been issued, but a higher level perspective.
yeah,
Because the number of meters existing as stated on the permit was not actual.
okay.
Stated that there were 2 existing, replacing 2, and there's actually only 1.
So there'll be a correction to that?
Yeah, that'll be up to that, those fact analysis and all that.
Yeah.
We'll deal with that.
It's a separate issue, it's not our issue. Okay. Okay, opinion from ISD is the fire is one of the things. We got the opinion from ISD and the fire on the spiral staircase could be built 3rd floor under the prior footprint before extension. That was yes. If the deck did not need to be extended to comply with state building and fire codes, what is the petitioner's hardship? Well, now you're not doing that, so that's a moot point. Copy of the original building permit and any amendments that show. And we have that, right?
Yep.
And review of proposed work, dimensions, offsets, confirm work is being built according to the building permit and the code as required. So does ISD, the building permit have the same plans that we have that show the plot plan and the architectural?
Yes.
Okay, so we're all on the same page.
And I believe his name is Joe. The inspector that's going to be doing all this is Joe. What's his name? What's Joe?
Most likely, if this is really given, whatever final plan you will get attached to a building permit or a COA, comply with all the conditions that you place on the property and the properties not the same that make the CO. They're probably not in ISP yet, there's no reason to send them the other approval yet.
Yeah.
They way if they have. I'm looking for the maybe the rest of that.
Yeah, okay. You understand that? Okay. Is there any other questions from the board or anything? Do you want to come up to the mic and have anything to say or comment on?
You get the last word.
Vincent Phelan, 10 Grosley Park. I just haven't seen the plans again. I've texted Ted several times, and we had the agreement, yeah, I'll show it to you before you even submit those. I haven't seen anything yet. Last time, they were different from what we agreed to and what he submitted and what he showed me. So I haven't seen what he submitted yet. I've requested them.
Do you have a copy of that, Mr. Lieutenant?
I think that's fair. I submitted that. Well, they were different last time, when we agreed to and what was actually submitted.
Well, because you changed your mind.
Again, is this the one? I'm on the building, a little bit of base. Is that?
In the folder. Let me pull it here.
Yeah, get the big side, we can see it.
I don't know. Hold on. Ocean Street, Linwood. Hold on. That is Linwood. That's all. Ocean Street has 2 folders.
Part A, part B.
Is this the current one you want? Sheet 1, 2, and 3?
That's the one that shows, impervious. I think he wants the one.
Yeah, so does this match? Do they match? That's what I'm asking.
George Meyer.
Hold on.
Yeah, they're.
Where?
Thinking about it.
This thing?
Yeah.
Is that stamped, that one?
Not yet.
It's this one, isn't it? This one?
Well, hello.
That's the one.
There's another one here too.
Again, that's what this is like. Well, this is, we've got this crossed out.
Got so many family drawing. There's no dates. Final drawing right here. Charlie, yeah. No.
All
It's
right.
keeping the bunch.
So the official one's out.
We've agreed to this. Yes.
And we're okay.
Just give me that.
Yeah. That will go straight into the folder as the official.
Which one are you using?
They gotta say that first, yeah.
No, that's
Benny, you're
that's the-
agreeing on that one?
That's
Yeah, this is mine. I own this.
All right, I want to make sure.
This is mine.
Which, let me see which one that
It's
is.
trash. This is the bad one.
All right, can I have the good one?
It's not even.
Wait, no, that was a good.
No, I thought this was the bad one.
That's a good one.
All right. Then throw that one
That
out.
goes, throw anything
No.
else out. Anything else?
Yeah.
Let's
Oh,
put a stamp on it.
Coming in the back.
Let's
They're
put,
not going up that way, they're going out that way. And I was concerned with the post and.
So,
let's stamp it on the back.
yeah, all right. This is being memorialized. This is being agreed to, yes?
Well, I have no objection to that. I'm not a party, as you know. So, I mean, I'm not opposing that. But I just to make the statement in regard to that.
Yep, nope, this way. Yep, go ahead.
We're gonna make sure the paperwork is dealt with. We're gonna. Then we'll have the floor.
It's not up to me.
We are,
Today,
21st.
I one of them.
You don't wanna be on offense from one more.
You saw those, right, Vinny?
I know,
It is like it's.
But if I may, I also want to state that as an abutter, a direct abutter, I do not represent the other abutters. There was another individual here tonight who became ill. And he texted me, indicating that he opposes everything.
Okay.
And will be appealing even any acquiescence that I had. That would be Mr. Spinelli, who's in the butter with his mother, and he wanted, he texted me, wanted me.
What's the address? Out.
Ocean Street.
What about this? Do you look at this?
He faces the front of my house.
It's going to be an interest that on the record.
And he is a tenant with his two sons, have 5 cars, and they use
What you do with it?
Grosvenor as their parking.
Okay, but that's irrelevant to our discussion, so we will proceed with our proceedings.
So marking that as well.
Yes, we have to.
Everything.
And all this has to get recorded with the registry of deeds. Whatever we mark. Yep. That's when it stipulations. Well, anything that we write down on the, stipulations on the plans and stuff, that's what it gets recorded. Thank you, sir.
Those are the 3.
Yes, sir.
And now we can vote on it, right?
Give me a second.
So what's the date on those again?
Where's the date?
June 12th?
Where's the stamp? Where's the stamp? There's no stamp.
Checking me. Yeah, he's got,
Where's the stamp? The box right here?
yeah, he's got to see all the
Oh.
last date.
Oh, well, for you. Okay, perfect.
There's a series of dates he's revised them.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm trying to keep the right ones.
The 21st.
June.
They were revised, the last time they were revised was June 12th, 2026.
That's the latest.
It went from April 2nd to May 5th to June 12th.
So June 12th.
Okay.
That's why I was confused. So many versions for me. Trying to marry them up.
And Vinnie's happy with those plans, right?
Yeah. So what's the will of the board on this one?
Motion to grant?
Motion to grant,
With all the stipulations.
with all the stipulations
And
stated.
stipulation.
Okay, we need a second on that?
Yes.
Second.
Okay. And I'll have all the stipulations put down. Member Ago, to grant with the stipulations. Member Gilrain, to grant with the stipulations.
Yes, to grant with stipulations.
Member Maggio, to grant with the stipulations.
Yes, to grant stipulation.
Member Lopez Hernandez, to grant with the stipulations.
Yes, to grant with stipulations.
Member Wilson, to grant with stipulations.
Yes to grant with stipulations.
Perfect. Yeah, one done.
I'll pass the gavel back to our chairwoman. I pass the gavel back to our chairwoman to close the meeting.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved, seconded. Aye.